Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here to Summit Esports as we get into week 2 here at the Titan Immortal League, where we've got the matchup here between Lane Zero Maelstrom and Summit Wawa going against each other for our week 2 matchup for the night. I am Andrew here on your play-by-play for the night. I had to remind myself for a second there. And with me is my good friend, Mr. Gar. Now, Gar, I think I've already done a great job, as the last time I was here, I called one team the entire wrong name the whole time. So I think so far I'm good. But what about yourself? How are you doing so far this week?
It's been a hot minute since I've been on a cast, much less been on a summit cast. You did a good job. You finally remembered the names, and
Right,
that's
exactly.
the caster. That's probably the most important part, and making sure that we call people by the right stuff. But it's
Right,
looking
exactly. So,
like
oh, okay.
unlucky.
Well, then, good news, guys. I got the team names right. That's all we had to do. I got it. I passed the test. So we, right, then, yeah. So now that I did that, now that I proved that to myself, we're gonna be right back to get something quick figured out in broadcasting. Give it just 1 second to figure that out. One moment. All right, ladies and gents, welcome back one more time. See, I got the team names right, so we knew we were going to go forward, but I had to essentially confirm that I actually knew the team. I had to say it 5 times fast. Don't let them know I did that. But now we're good to go against Lane Zero Maelstrom and Summit Wawa over here at week 2 of the Titan Immortal League. So, Mr. Gar, we were just talking about how seems like both of us haven't quite been on the cast. Well, I wouldn't surprise me almost if the last time you were on the cast, it's been that long, was probably with me, maybe about a couple months ago or so. But either way, we can go ahead and see exactly how we're going to be represented here in this league. We can look at the bands right now, as we're seeing quite a variety here with the Jason, the Jinx on one side, the Hui and the Varus on the other. Looks like a lot of bot lane focus so far, as we see 3 different AD, well, technically 3 to carries banned. I'm not sure if Hui still goes in the bottom lane. It looks like Corki is going to be the fourth.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are pretty solid bands. Blue side understands that the Pantheon jungle pick is really strong right now, thanks to Spica showing up on a lot of videos about it. Tank Jace is also, even though it got nerfed, I still think Tank Jace is still a bit of an issue, especially for players who don't seem to know how to play against it well. And I'm fairly certain that our top laner is very good at Jace. The Jinx is also just really volatile in team fights, so I understand where that band's going from lane zero Maelstrom. But on Summit Esports Wawa's draft, a lot of these picks are basically like either really annoying flexes or things that would be able to play against like an engage comp because Hui and Varus do so much utility and prevent tanks from trying to dive into them. So, depending on the draft that some esports Wawa is going for, they may look to try to blow up their backline as fast as possible, or they may be trying to play for an easier front to back. Especially with this Ashe here, front to back seems a lot more in mind. But there's only so much information going in the draft, as we do see a J4 pick up for Morn.
Yeah, it seems like right now the J4. I mean, I can see the J4 working maybe what they're hoping for, especially on like Skarner. You want to have different ways to possibly lock him in somewhere interrupt. And oddly enough, I've seen once or twice where a Jace one was use a Cataclysm to force the Skarner to have a place to stay locked in by going through and tunneling through and locking in the J4. But either way, I think as far as a pick, it does really well. It kind of is a multi-use tool right now, despite in most cases J4 at least can always be a solid pick and just at the best. I almost kind of relate to an Oriana personally, but I think it also depends on the itemization. The Ezreal the Karma picked for lane 0 also means that there's a lot of poke in that bottom lane, a lot of high range, and a lot of safety. It makes a lot of sense with the Skarner as well, kind of knowing that in the late game, your backline can kind of protect themselves. So I'm more interested in seeing what they decide to go for this top lane and this mid lane duo. But do they try to stick with the long range, maybe see if they can almost not care if Jarvan dives on one, keep the other 3 safe, or if maybe they're trying to go for something a bit more for, either follow up engage or actually they're lacking a bit of disengage also, I would argue.
Yeah, I mean, the Ezreal Ashe makes it so that Ashe can't really do her thing of kiting down an opponent with her slows. And especially because they're trying to avoid these picks, I assume the Ezreal and Karma want to stay behind the Skarner and make sure they're out of range of this J4 as much as possible. You did mention it earlier, the Oriana J4 combo is very well known and tried and true. But with the amount of disengage that Lane Zero Maelstrom have, it may be a little difficult to execute. We'll see how they perform that in the middle of the match. But we do see so far Kali versus Milio bans. Personally, I think the Milio is a interesting ban to say the least. I know that Milio buffs up Ashe quite a bit and it helps her kite down opponents because of the bonus range off of the campfire, but I'm not sure it's exactly the biggest pickup considering the only thing that Milio would really be ulting for is the Skarner ulti, and I'm not even sure that actually works. We do see
Yeah.
Akali and LeBlanc, both really solid mid lane assassins, which prevents the Ashe and Oriana from getting blown up super easy. I also assume that they're trying to get ZMT the safest Oriana lane matchup possible, or they just could be one tricks. I actually haven't done any of the scouting myself.
Mhm. I mean, what that almost screams to me with the Milio ban, and also what kind of similar with Renata, is that essentially what they is that almost means that they want a more engage heavy mid and top lane. I think they're almost trying to find ways that allow for a heavy engage on the solo lane while keeping the backline safe behind the Skarner, like you mentioned. So I think that similarly, that's why things like the Akali and the LeBlanc are banned. LeBlanc being able to kind of jump in and burst down and carry, especially in that slippery style, versus the Akali being able to really jump in and get onto that Ashe or get onto that Oriana, both, relatively speaking, more or less immobile. They have maybe slows and ways to keep themselves a bit safer with range, but they're more or less trying to not get jumped on. The Cassante definitely does exactly do that purpose of being a means of getting yourself into a fight, using that path maker, using your kind of grand challenge, and really using that to get into a backline. So I can see how the thought of what Summit Wall were trying to avoid, they're kind of picking up something like that in the top lane, having a lot of tankiness, but also some good ways to jump into a backline. The Thresh pick does also help with that, though, in terms of going back, and instead they go the way of the Victor. So they decide to really keep themselves away from range, and the immediate Garen lock in for the top side means that Summit Wall are going to do
Yeah.
everything they can to try to keep Cassante down about as much as is at least possible in the game, knowing what Cassante turns into.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of expected to see the Garen pick, as like and now resident top laner myself. Picking Cassante without having a Garen ban is extremely painful. I'm pretty sure stats say like Garen has like a 50 high 56% win rate just playing into Cassante,
Yep,
because the
does
whole
indeed.
interaction is when Cassante goes all out, he loses max health. And Garen loves it when you lose max health because his judgment comes so much stronger and his true damage. So really good pickup on Summit Esports Wawas. Depending how they want to play this comp, I think they might try to do a 4v4, or at least force 4v4 objectives and have Garen split push. Because at that point, Lane Zero Maelstrom will either have to force a fight onto something that is extremely difficult to start a fight against, or they're going to have to pull either Victor or Cassante off from the team fight and try to match the Garen, which is also really bad because then Summon Esports Wawa will take advantage of the man deficit. So hopefully we see Summon Esports Wawa pull ahead, but Lane Zero Maelstrom definitely will give a good fight throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, not to mention the other thing about that, kind of to your point about what Garen is really going to do in the side lane, is that I would almost argue that the only real answer is going to be to match Garen with the Victor. I think Cassante matching into him, whether it be because of the kind of ultimate being true damage, but also just the fact that Cassante, when he does ult, really relies on that lower and Tofa strike cooldown, on the Pathpick and the shield cooldown. So even the silence alone when you dash in, it is entirely possible for Cassante to ult Garen, but then immediately kind of get 100 to 0. So I think it definitely makes sense that ultimately you need Victor to be that response. And I think that by that point, okay, Cassante not old form and Skarner can maybe just protect Ezreal and Karma. But then still you're comparing that to an Orianna ult, a J4 engage that can kind of get into that backline. Even Thresh being able to keep Ashe a little bit more protected. I think this is going to be a bit of a rough game. I think that Garen and knowing who's going to match him is going to be the big answer, and probably playing around those side lanes and rotations.
Yeah, definitely. Going off of what Lane Zero Maelstrom wants to play, I feel like they should try to get their mid laner ahead. Uh, Victor is a very strong scaler, but the issue with Victor early game is that he doesn't really have a lot of defensive options outside of his Hextech trap that he has. And if J4 is able to abuse that, it's going to be really difficult for him to play the lane. So for all I know, Lane Zero Maelstrom may have to give up quite a few early objectives if they don't manage to figure out a lead.
Yeah, so we'll have to see exactly how Summit Wawa decide to handle themselves in this round and whether they can take the lead over Lane Zero as we start off the series. But we're going to go ahead and go to a short break so we get into the game. So give us 1 minute. We'll be right back with the first match in the series between Lane Zero Maelstrom and Summit Wawa. ladies and gentlemen, here we are. We're on the Rift, ready to go with Summit Esports. Oh, well, there we go. And we got a little pause, apparently. I was about to say, and look at this, we're already ready to go in the middle of 30 seconds, but there's a reason why we're just looking at some blank screens. They're actually just really, really good at freeze tag, and just nobody's tagged them out. That's why they're really frozen. See? And just like that, they stopped playing. But I was just saying, Summit Esports was going up against Lane Zero Maelstrom. If you look at that, we got an invade going in. We got a flash out from Thresh. He's trying to get himself there, but the first blood goes in the hands of Jarvan, killing the Cassante. Looks like another one might be on the way as Ezreal gets taken out by Sprinkler. 2 quick kills already going into the hands of Summit Esports Wawas. And to be fair, being on the jungle on the top side, especially with that top side game we were just talking about, really wanting that early lead, you gotta say this is a good premonition for what's to come later with that side lane pressure.
Yeah, I saw that they were all walking through mid, and I was really hoping that Boy Wife didn't get blown up instantly at the banana bush, and it turned out to have worked well. Not only did he get the death sentence off on one of the most important targets, the Cassante, who can't move after his Q, but we gave first blood to Sprinkler and got another kill for Morn. And these two champions, uh, when they're ahead in a winning matchup, it's not going to look great for Lane Zero Maelstrom. So having this lead early is definitely going to boost their tempo on the map, especially since the longsword is going to speed up a lot of clear. And it looks like they actually went for a lane swap. Pretty smart.
Yeah, lane swap really does make sense in this scenario. Not only do you really not want Cassante into what is a bad matchup considering the fact that there is this early pressure, but at the same time, that early pressure is now not only negated, but really Garen is great at maybe sustaining and from taking individual trades, especially with that ignite taking instead of TP. The lane swap makes so much more sense because when you force Garen out of lane, he's guaranteed missing at least a wave of experience, especially if you can get a proper lane state. So definitely we'll admit very well played by Lane Zero Maelstrom in that sense, but on an individual level, again, that's still a gold lead that you're definitely making up the difference in that lane swap immediately with that kill goal.
Well, luckily that Garen has probably D-Shield second wind, or probably not second wind, but at least he has D-Shield and his passive, so the poke isn't as substantial compared to the Cassante, who doesn't really have that luxury. And really, it's just with Garen's lead, it's how much can he stay in that lead despite being in such a precarious situation. It looks like Jarvan's ready to match for the Garen. I don't think they're going to be able to do anything from there, but uh, we're going to be seeing our lane assignments. If Skarner is pathing up towards topside, so there could be a 3v2, but, as Summit Esports, WoW, we really don't want to be taking fights towards topside unless they're, like, completely under our tower. We did see that Orianna and Victor's lane are kind of, even at the moment, but really, with every CS that Victor's able to get, he's getting slowly closer towards his glorious evolution. And as Orianna, the faster that Victor gets glorious evolution is a very sad lane state. So we'll see if Morn will be able to bail out May during this time. Jarvan is taking the Rift Scuttler in the meantime, while Skarner is going to be finishing up his blue buff. He will spot the Scuttler getting down. I'm not sure. He's probably just going to path towards the bottom Scuttler at this point, while Jarvan continues his clear towards Raptors and Crocs.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case. I mean, right now we can see now that the scoreboard is back up. CS numbers are pretty even across the board. Orianna having a slight lead on the Victor is good, and I think that's also why she probably took this early back now. Just get the tier, get the amp tone, try to get yourself scaled, because you are absolutely correct. You don't want to give Victor necessarily a free lane for himself, because obviously that's just going to mean that when he does get those evolved abilities, he starts to really catch up to you. So I can see exactly why May decided to go ahead, take the early TP, see if maybe you could keep Victor forced in lane, maybe keep the lane state that he needs to stay for like this. Ultimately, I think I'll try to see if Jarvan wants to potentially make his way into the mid lane. Now he is clearing Gromp, and I'm guessing just Gromp into Wolves maybe goes for a lane gank before Victor gets the buy, but we'll have to see what he decides to go for. Meanwhile, the lane swap has kind of fully reversed. We have our top laners in the bottom side. Looks like Cassante, with the mild bit of CS lead, is at least going to itemize about equivalent to Garen, whereas meanwhile, the bottom lane's clearly Ezreal with that more scaling item of tier, as we'd expect, and Ashe having the slingshot with the longsword means that it looks like Summit's bot side definitely takes more of a lead, as even the actual overall gold lead is still over 1,000 in Summit's favor.
Yeah, the Ashe definitely has a much stronger item advantage right now, considering that Ezreal tier doesn't really do much for his laning damage. But just going off how these lane assignments are going, it sounds like both junglers, or both teams rather, would want to play towards these early grubs. And I feel like it's much more important for Summit Esports Wawas to actually secure these grubs because it looks like their game plan is to make sure that this Garen's able to split push and pull away someone. And having those grubs will significantly increase the threat that he's going to provide for the team. Uh, so, you know, lane zero's Maelstrom wants to do their best to make sure that this doesn't happen. We do see that Victor is out clearing Orianna at the moment, so he's going to have first move towards these grubbies, but it's not like Orianna's going to be in any disadvantage at this point because Sprinkler is going to not worry about that lane. Morn is hovering towards the mid. He is going to try to clear these Raptors. While we do see NA Stallion is hovering more towards the grubs, towards topside. I'm not sure if he's trying to look for a play here or if he's just clearing the Rift Scuttler right there. No, the Rift Scuttler hasn't spawned yet. But Lane Zero Maelstrom are definitely in a much better position to try to take these grubs, and whether or not Esports Wawas wants to give that is up to whether Morn wants to play this out. But it looks like they're probably going to give this.
Yeah, I don't think they're really in a position to fight for right now, especially because the reality of the situation is, which maybe something we haven't talked about, is that, or at least not for a while, is that because, oh, hold on, Jarvan's actually going in, gets the Orianna
Oh,
ball,
no!
doesn't quite get the ult off, it does go for a full miss, looks like he's going to have to flash out of there, seeing the Victor ult on, looks like actually he's going to slay at least one grub, so it's not a full 3 over, but that is a flash on Victor, the Karma Shield's going to give him the movement speed they need, Jarvan gets out with an EQ, Thresh likely sacrifice, and never mind, burns his own flash to get out of there. Beautifully played, disengaged by Summit, means that while they may have burned some summoner spells, they are not going to give up that 300 gold kill.
Yeah, Victor flashing to try to get that secure.
Oh,
Wait, the
wait
death
a minute.
sentence.
Okay,
That
nice
was
cleanse by
crazy.
Ezreal.
Yeah, getting out after getting a grub steal is extremely huge for some of these sports Wawas. Granted, neither of them will get the feat for it because both were split in the meantime, but it's really good to have both, you know, Boy Wife and Morn get out of that completely safe. So well played to both of them for, you know, getting out for what they want to go. But here comes NA Stallion.
Yep, there he comes AJ Stallion. He's going to miss the hook. He's going to try to get him on a turret. Look at that ult positioning from Skarner. Very well done. Boywife is going to go down. Meanwhile, Ashe very low. One more missed shot. As is going to take it out. And actually, the Skarner gets the double kill with the DOT of the passive. So kill score does now even gold. Still slightly in Summit's lead, but they did both go into the hands of the jungle, which means Skarner's going to get that heart steal a lot quicker if he decides to go for it.
Yeah, really good warding and positioning from Lane Zero Maelstrom. They were able to get the Ixchel impact over the wall in a spot that they weren't able to avoid, and that double impale really secured that play. Ashe with no time to get out because he didn't have a flash at the time, and obviously Thresh just burned it at Grubby, so there was no way for them to really escape, especially now that the death sentence missed. So well played. There's a huge leap. Gold swing towards Lane Zero Maelstrom. We do have a Cataclysm mid lane.
Okay, hold on. Yep, Cataclysm mid lane. Victor may be a threat, but he is also just as immobile that when you do eventually get him into that Cataclysm, he's just as at risk as anybody else. That is going to be the first feat of strength going into the hands of some of these Wawas as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the thing that we talked about before, where Victor gets caught out by the good old Jarvan Swag Flag combo followed by Command Shockwave. What else is he really going to do when he doesn't have his flash? So both teams really were able to punish.
Ezreal, no cleanse. That's going to be... Alright, the Flay is not going to go down, but the Ashe Arrow is. Heal gets popped. He has to burn his own flash. Karma's now in the target sights, but not going to be nearly enough to go down. A lot of damage down to Ezreal and the flash burn.
Wow, that was crazy that Ezreal got out of there alive. But because of that, Ezreal is so chunked that he's not going to be able to stay in lane much longer. And we see that Jarvan and Skarner really are pathing up towards topside. They may try to play for a dive towards lane zero Maelstrom's inner tower. So depending on how this Jarvan wants to play, it looks like he's going to be for reset. But there can be an angle for some of Esports Wawas to try to kill this Ezreal and hopefully be able to snowball this Ashe more.
Yeah, snowballing Ashe is definitely going to be I mean, I wouldn't say it's their only win condition. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that. It's far from their win condition. But I think that snowballing Ash is never going to be a bad angle, especially considering that, all the first item, knowing that Ezreal needs to delay for the tier, means that you can still put a lot of early pressure into Ash before it kind of gets to that late game, and she's mostly just there as a slow bot with an arrow. I think that right now is definitely the time to give her the pressure, whereas it seems like Garen, in general, in the bottom lane, is more than content to kind of just keep playing his game, getting farms off of some judgment spins, and really kind of putting himself in position. Karma seems to be going for a little bit of extra chip damage on Thresh. As Thresh is plenty low. Root does go down. He's going to fire that True Shot Barrage. He's getting pretty low. Not quite there yet. Karma actually flashes forward for the auto. Picks up on Boywife. Ezreal actually eating forward, knowing he has probably enough damage to on this Karma. Barrier is popped, but not going to be enough. A double kill into Karma's hands. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Cataclysm is burned. Victor getting low again. A Sprinkler gets the kill with the good old Demacia call down. But 2 kills over in the top side of the map, both going into the hands of the support, and Ezreal sitting there with those 4 assists saying, I'm helping.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. That Mantra Q actually did so much damage to the Thresh, and because of the positioning that Thresh was in, hold on, we got an Ishtal impact going into the grubbies.
Karma's coming in. They're going to try to see if they can try to keep these feats down. They know that getting these grubs will give them the feat. Karma going to go for the ultimate, pulls away a little bit from Miko, but not going to be nearly enough. Right now, Arthur's trying to find his way in. He has an ult available. He's waiting for the target. Victor does pop his ult up as well, going a little on the side. Thresh gets in, back in the fight, gets that. There's going to be the order shockwave, shutdown going onto the Skarner. A little bit, people are going low. Flash going on the left. Jaren gets a shutdown onto the Karma. That's Victor down as well. The only one left is Cassante. He has that all out for him, but he doesn't have the damage to stay alive. Gonna back out. This last grub gonna go into the hands of some of these Esports Wawas, and I believe with that, that is the second feat, if I'm correct. Maybe not. No, they need one more because the grubs were split. So next dragon or next rich hour will get those feats to strengthen the hands of some of these Esports Wawas, and if they don't miss that, then it's just gonna come down to towers.
Yeah, it looks like Lane 0 Maelstrom were a little disconnected there at the grubs. We did see the Skarner go in with the XL impact, but he wasn't able to get anything out of it. And especially since the nerfs just hit where the stun duration is lower, missing that ability is pretty crucial for the fight. And we did see that Griffin and Bondi, they were both playing towards the top half of the Blue River. And because of that, Skarner was also just stuck in the pit with a Garen and a Jarvan in front of their face and isolating the Skarner. The Impale did go out, but it really only caught Sprinkler with it. And Garen doesn't really care about getting caught by that. He's tanky. He's going to be able to do a lot of AoE damage afterwards. So, really just not the target you want to be hitting with the Impale.
Death Sentence going down. There's going to be the box as well. Thresh actually burning a flash to get out. Ignite is ticking on Karma. It is going to be enough. Thresh finally gets a return kill over on the bottom side. So looks like maybe a dive going wrong.
Yeah, I definitely see the play going down there. They were trying to prep for some cheeky early Drake setup. And they knew that the Tribush wasn't warded for some Esports Wawa. So they were looking to maybe get something with the Skarner Ixtal impact on the Thresh. But luckily, Boywife has an excellent death sentence hit rate.
Yeah, Skarner was thinking about it.
Yeah, he decided to drift into the next turn. But yeah, just Boywife was able to play that really well. He got the death sentence off on the Karma and finally get a revenge kill with the Ignite after being bullied in lane for so long.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the amount that this Thresh is going to be able to do in this game is slowly being seen. Obviously, the death sentence being tied in with that, with that placement of the box and really kind of locking someone. It's almost essentially a secondary version of Cataclysm where you really don't get to leave the zone without causing yourself a serious issue. So I think that, hold on, that's a long range death sentence. Skarner getting ready to go in, but not quite going to find a way through, or at least no target to hit on, as the rest of the team already knows that someone's nearby and they don't want to get caught out in the crossfire.
Yeah, Lane 0 Maelstrom really want to make sure that they're able to prevent some of Esports Wawas from getting this feat of slaying, is it? But
I'm not sure, but they might just lose out in tower at this point. It looks like topside Garen's already more than halfway done.
Yeah, and
there we go.
Yeah, that's kind of the plan they were going for some of Esports Wawas. At least that's what I thought the plan was going to be, trying to secure as many grubs as possible so that the Garen split push is going to be extremely devastating for them. And now that this Garen is 3-0-3 with a Stridebreaker built at like 13 minutes, who's really going to stop him at this point? Like, Cassante is going to get kited out. Victor is currently 0-3 without boots. It's going to take a lot of time, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to afford that with how fast Garen is going to be splitting with 4 grubs.
Yeah, at this point, it's really going to come down to a question of how much can they slow down the tempo in order to make it into maybe a late game point. Maybe Casante has a third item and he's tanky enough to jump into Garen and not immediately die. Skarner's kind of in the same boat. Maybe Victor has a second item and can stay from range because right now they're really going to be lacking in that upfront ability to sustain themselves. With the fact that Garen, I wouldn't say he's at 100 to 0 point yet, but he's pretty close given the state of the game. Jarvan, obviously, with his completed Sundered Sky and boots, is definitely nothing to scoff at either. And then even Oriana, like you said, clearly outpacing this Victor. 0 and 7, 35 CS lead now. This is a very formidable team to set up for this mid game, where I think this is really where Summit wanted to shine in the first place. When Garen was able to provide split push pressure, when Oriana Shockwave comboed really well with Jarvan before they were tanky enough to dissuade from it. And we can already see right now, Jarvan's not even afraid to go into the jungle and start scrapping with this Skarner as he pops the Cataclysm, but kind of forgets the
No,
Skarner goes the
you
Victor.
can't do that.
Little bit, little bit of feeler play there. Got a little bit too excited.
You know, I saw the vision. The Cataclysm has the chance to displace. The problem is Skarner doesn't really care about wall displacements.
Yeah,
Uh,
not quite the answer there.
yeah, but they did make that play because they knew that their bot lane wasn't showing mid or top, and they figured that they would be able to get away with it. Especially since their mid and their top laner were significantly farther up in the lane, they were trying to make it for a collapse. But lane 0 Maelstrom are just gonna take the Herald and without much contention. Uh, I'm not sure what Summit Esports Wawa's plan is right now. Oh, I guess they're
I
playing for
have
this
to.
bot tower.
Right. Yeah, playing for the bot tower is probably the way to go. Ash clearly trying to set up for something on this Victor, but they might not quite make there. Oh, so I have to say this because I thought of this the second we saw Skarner do that. And you were talking about how he didn't really work out, and if I don't say it, I'm going to be upset with myself. What that Skarner ult was, you know what? I'm not sure if you know this, but like when college acceptance essays were a thing, and like that one kid wrote, for a 500 word essay, simplicity, and like got into every college. That Jarvanot was the second kid trying to do it. It's like, this worked the last time, it has to work for me also, and then not realizing that it's already been done. I don't know why that's the analogy that came with my head, but that's what I thought of at the start. Like, I'm going to do this too, and then didn't get the Skarner to lock down. Now my dumb analogy is done.
Mods, I
Yes.
think we might need to get this cook out of the kitchen.
Listen, okay, all right. It was in my brain. I felt the need to say it, and if I didn't say it, I was going to go insane. So I figured, now you all have to deal with my really bad joke and bad analogy. So back to League of Legends, the thing that I was actually here to do. This is definitely a case where the mid game pressure is going to start building up. They may have the Herald, and they might be able to use that maybe to kind of even out one of these side lanes. The only tower that's currently down is that bot lane outer, and I think where lane 0 Maelstrom is going to want to be looking is probably through the mid lane. They already know that the side lane pressure is going to be heavily controlled by the Garen and whatever lane he decides to go in. So you can try to pressure maybe a 5-man in the shortest lane. Maybe there's a possibility they can try to turn around some pressure and at least force Garen off the sides. But I'm not sure where they plan to. I think they have another maybe about 2 minutes until that Herald needs to be dropped. And not for nothing, because this is the way the season works. About another 2 minutes in, we're going to have Otacon come on the map. We're going to see which team decides to prioritize that as well.
Sante doesn't know Garen's behind him. Oh, okay, but Strinkler isn't really
There
gonna
we
look
go.
for a play there. But no, I do agree. I think the best play for this Rift Herald would be mid lane, just because destroying mid tower opens up the map so much. It prevents them from getting information for your enemy jungle plays, and also just make sure that they're gonna have to be farther back if they want to play for safety. They might be looking for Boy Wife here, but a good play prevents the Ixchel impact from actually connecting. But yeah, like, opening up mid tower is just going to be extremely game-changing for whichever team is able to do it first, just because it provides a lot of pressure towards the opposing team if that tower falls down.
Yeah, I think when that tower goes down and the map's a little bit more open, it'll at least give lane 0 a little bit more of opportunities and places to go. But I think that ultimately, Garen is still going to be a factor. He's still in the side getting a lot of gold. Death sentence goes down, but no engage going through as it was on the Skarner. Now, the bigger thing right here is something that we, again, very briefly mentioned, but something we really got a chance to go into, is that TP differential. Obviously, Cassandra can join any of these fights pretty much anytime he wants to, and Garen's gonna have to be one really commits to a side lane. So that's the other place where maybe lane 0 have a chance to get themselves more pressure. Maybe Thresh does get an engage, but then you're worried about the idea of whether or not you have to follow up on Cassandra. So there's a very weird power dynamic there of, okay, what is Garen going to value more? Being present around Cassandra to stop potential TP, Or is he going to just really, really focus on these side lanes, getting a turret, and being more of a menace? As it looks like on the opposite side of things, and I'm talking about top lane, this Dragon first Chemtech going to be taken by lane 0 Maelstrom. And with that, like, Drake lead, but neither of these teams close enough to Soul where we're really that worried for at least another probably 15 minutes.
I'm not sure I understand Wawa's reluctance to fight these objectives. It may just be because, like, Ezreal Karma prevents a lot of the engage from getting in safely, because they do have a lot of poke, and that's super risky. But you have a Jarvan Orianna, I feel like there's a lot you could be forcing, especially with the Actualty too. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow sets up for so many plays. So, like, so long as you don't hit the Ezreal with it, who's going to just cleanse immediately, I feel like it's just free for any setup. So it's just odd to me to see them give up these two objectives so easily so far.
Yeah, I want to say that it just comes down to the Cassante and that maybe they're just worried about a TP play. But even then, like I've said, like you're essentially trading that for at least one other tower in Garen's hand, especially during his massive lead with that completed mana counter. So maybe they're just trying to make it more of a, play it safe, keep the lead instead of expanding it. But I think that could definitely be a problem in itself. Speaking of Garen right now, he is definitely going to be running onto Cassante. He knows that with that Conquer, he can definitely get some trade through despite the heavy resistances. Karma actually here and showing up to balance it. I'm wondering what they're going to go for. Otacon is on the map. It's on the top side. That is where pretty much everyone's set up. Ori and Victor both on the bottom side, so TP's available for the mid laners. But I mean, Otacon is definitely a huge boon to either of these teams. I'm kind of surprised that, especially actually some at Wawas with the position they have, they really should be aiming to start this thing sooner rather than later. But maybe they want the mid lane tower first.
I mean, if I was Azrael right now, I would be calling that Ezreal has no mana. We want to look for something like immediately. Just with how mana reliant Ezreal is, as soon as he runs out of it, what is he gonna do? Auto? Sure, cool. Like, we have armor, that's fine. I will go back to your point though about the Garen split pushing. I feel like the cross map play is fine. Some Esports Wawas should already know that, like, drafting this Garen with Ignite means that they're not going to be able to play these fights to a full 3 or 5v5. But at the very least, they should be playing safer, like clearing vision out with controls and scanners to be able to react to such Cassante plays. And I feel like if they kill Ezreal, who's going to be their damage threat there? Like, Victor's still behind, and I'm fairly certain with the Sundered Sky that Jarvan has, he's just going to be able to walk down the Victor super easily. But maybe the cautiousness is going to pay off. Maybe, they're just trying to make sure that their 4k gold lead, 5k gold lead actually, is, safely within their bounds. But I feel like if they're just going to keep bleeding out these resources, lane 0 Maelstrom is going to have a chance to come back into the game.
Yeah, I was like, maybe a way back in the game might be a little bit harsh, but I think that right now this was a scenario where if these teams were on even footing, Lane 0 Maelstrom were going to essentially be the people that had more of the advantage in tempo. I think that right now, essentially, you're giving them the chance to kind of even things out rather than keep the lead yourselves. As meanwhile, Orianna going for the shockwave, going for the dissonance, but not quite going to have the kill, as it looks like that one gravity field going to be enough as Victor's going to walk away. But still, combo burn, and Orianna has more than enough base damage and their base abilities to finish that off if Victor's not careful. But no, yeah, absolutely. I think that this is more a case where this is the mid game. This was going to be the strongest point of this comp, I believe. So I am surprised they're not maybe pushing the gas, but it looks like right now they are actually going to finally do that by taking down Otacon. It looks like there's going to be almost no contention. Actually, TP coming in from the Cassante in the back side of things at about 5k HP left. There's going to be the hook going through. They're looking for their way in. Jarvan going to go in over there. Not going to get the Cataclysm down quite yet. Waiting for the opportunity. Gravity Field goes down, but not going to get much. There's going to be the Death Sentence. They're still not pulling it out. They're waiting and they're biding their time. Jarvan taking pretty low right now as Joe actually jumps forward. Not going to get the Jarvan out, but now Otacon is low and right for picking Death goes into the Death Sentence. Going to force the flash of the Karma. Almost there. It's done. Oh! There we go. Blue team slays it with a smite fight. Victor picking up the kill on the Jarvan, who was already low. That is going to be a Garen taken down as well by the Victor. 2 shutdowns into the mid lane of the mid lane machinist. That is a dangerous thing to give on top of having just gotten Otacon. Meanwhile, gonna go ahead and go for the thresh. There's gonna be the arrow from downtown in long distance, but not even at the kill goal as Otacon is gonna instead give the in-base revive. And just as we were saying, they're not putting on the gas and giving Lane 0 Maelstrom a chance back in. They take 2 big shutdown kills and a major neutral kill.
Yeah, that is what I was afraid of. And that fight was definitely a lot rougher because, as you saw, Bali, May, like, she burned the command Shockwave to try to kill the Victor and was unsuccessful, and was immediately ported away into that fight without ultimate. That's just like a lot of fighting power gone in an instant, and Victor still had his ult. Like, the Magnetic Storm is just going to be doing so much work there, and there's just not a lot you could do. Just for reference, Otacon has the same thing with Baron, where the longer you're near and fighting it, the less or the lower magic resistant armor you'll have. And as you can see, they've been on that Otacon for a while. They were losing like 50% of their magic and armor.
Hold on a second, Jarvan go for the Cataclysm. Big fight going through. Bonnie actually going to pick up. Jarvan in the process doesn't go down as it looks like Otacon going to get at least one revive now. Skarner's actually the only kill they can get, and instead, Cassandra going to block the path, knowing that he can keep it out. Look at that giant amount from Deathmaker in all-out form. Garen barely surviving, as well as the opposite one. Looks like Ezreal just barely living, not quite there yet, as it looks like Blue Team going to take down the Chemtech Drake. Fight is still going on as Victor gets another kill for himself. 2, as Victor now gets fight taken down in the revive form, but not quite going to be enough. Cassante trying to go for a kill on himself. Skarner going to pick up and settle on the thresh. It's a double kill as Orianna walks away, but so little kill gold given thanks to the presence of the Otacon.
That was definitely a swingy fight, and I think some of the esports were looking a little desperate to make sure that play happens. But thanks to the Otacon res, as you said, there was a lot less damage dealt to Lane 0 Maelstrom than they would have liked. And that Cassante all-out Pathmaker just did so much damage. Garen was waiting for his ultimate the entire time. It was like on 10-second cooldown when that fight started, but he was just unable to get the... Or he was just unable to walk in and get it off because Victor's Hextech Blast, I think it's called, is just doing so much damage now. And if some of the esports aren't able to get a good combo off with the Swag Flag and Ball, I'm not sure how they're going to be able to play the rest of these fights.
Yeah, the rest of these fights are going to be very dangerous to go through when, you know, not that that was, I mean, I will say, that was arguably the closest you could have gotten to a perfect setup. Jarvan gets in on almost 5, Shockwave on almost all 5. Even Garen's there in the fight. It's not a case where he's stuck split pushing and you have to kind of play the fight a man down. So to have it go that way, and I guess technically the KD was even because Garen made it out and Orianna made it out, and the other 3 were just Otacon revives. But still, to take an even fight while still ahead in gold is definitely scary, and especially because with that Chemtech Baron being taken by Lane 0 Maelstrom, they are now on sole point for Chemtech Baron. And I would argue a team with things like a Skarner and a Cassante, and even things like a Victor and Ezreal and a Karma that are relatively high range and aren't going to be, as we talked about, as susceptible to something like a Jarvan jumping in on them, or it's going to be harder to get on them. I think this is a team that can definitely utilize Chemtech Soul extremely well.
Yeah, and I believe Chemtech Soul just got its buff because it's not really a great dragon. I believe it was like an increase from 11 or 12% damage buff to like a 14
15, I think.
Okay, so you had an even bigger buff than I thought. So if Lane 0 Maelstrom, who have a lot of really healthy characters, are able to secure that soul, fights are just going to get so much bloodier if they don't finish it off fast. And we're slowly starting to see like the collapse of how some esports Wawas really wants to play these fights. Like, Garen needs to be split pushing, but they can't really split push against these objectives because of the TP disadvantage. And oh, they're looking a little lost with their like combos together. Meanwhile, Lane 0 Maelstrom is just like, they're super coordinated, they're finding the targets that they need to pick off through the Skarner. And then Ezreal is going to go down, maybe.
If Ezreal finally gets the stun off from that long-range arrow, gonna get silenced up, just gonna get killed by the giant Justice Sword of Demacia as Garen goes and picks up a kill for himself. Now, Garen getting the kill is nice. It means that sideline pressure does continue, but I think at this point, especially... Oh, wait, actually, they're going to start the Baron off of Ezreal being down. This could be big. Now, the question is going to be, will we be able to secure the smite? Because it seems like the last couple times we've had a little bit of a rough call there. Going to pull Jarvan in, going to go for the drift in. Jarvan actually going for the Cataclysm immediately onto Victor. Going to try to see what they can get. That's going to be a redemption going down as well. Ashe has to flash away to not get taken out by it. 3 on the volley as it looks like a shutdown's going to go down in the hands of Orianna. Now, everyone's a little bit low, but it's still a 3-4. What are they going to do? Flash forward from Garen, tries to go for the Cassante, gets all the Conqueror stacks. Harmon to get the shield down, trying to see what he can do. Cassante does get away, but it looks like Skarner's not going to be able to. Another shutdown at the hands of Orianna. First two kills of the game, both happen to be, I believe, shutdown kills. And now with that, Baron should be relatively uncontested as there is still a Jarvan, but there is no Skarner.
That Skarner champion is so tanky, holy. He was sitting there fighting for against Garen for like the last 20 seconds and just did not lose any health. But that's besides the point. Uh, some of Esports Wawas, they finally realized, hey, we should probably be taking these fights just because we have a much bigger go button compared to them. And since the Ezreal was down, the only thing that's really poking them from afar is the Victor. And Morin notices that immediately and jumps on him with a swag flag combo. And they were able to just pick him off and get the rest of, like, another Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes out mid lane. And
Yep, another one coming through. Not quite going to get anything for it, though. Looks like right now we're trying to figure out exactly the way we want to go. Looks like Oriana's going to TP in over there on the ward just to make sure that we're still on an even 5v5 standard. And they know that this Drake is coming up within the next 10 seconds. They do not want to give the chance for a free Chemtech Souls. They'd rather burn the TP, get everyone from there. There's Cassandra actually getting pulled away by the Death Sense. That is huge. They were going to be finding a really good Natofa strikes in. As it looks like Garen said going to jump on him. Looks like True Shot Barrage is
so
Here
impact.
comes Skarner trying to look for something. Not quite getting anything. Going to get the pull in on 2 as there's a big suppression. But it looks like Garen already going to get the kill on Skarner immediately. Zanya's coming in for Oriana to keep herself alive for a little bit longer. Jarvan pretty low himself. Not quite going to make his way out. Shut down onto Victor as the fight is still going on. And now we start seeing something in a lot form. It's not going to be enough against the Ashe. Looks like Jarvan's going to finally go down. Garen is in. He's spinning to win. He's doing what he can. Ashe may go down to Victor. The question is, will Ezreal go down to somebody else? I'm not sure. Stun in on from the Thresh. Is this Karma doesn't make it out? We're not sure. Gets the slow down. That's going to be the Stride Breaker. Sprinkler goes on a killing spree. Ezreal trying to find out what he can. I'm not sure to be able to handle this. Garen running at him. There's going to be the Lantern for the shield. Another double kill into Garen. It's a 5-for-3 trade and ace for Summit Wawas. And if they can get this Drake, they'll keep Chemtech Soul out of the hands of Lane Zero Maelstrom.
I don't think they're pulling off of the dragon because Garner's up, and you know we don't really want to try to take an objective with a jungle disadvantage. But oh my goodness, that fight was wild. I thought the Skarner would have gotten a really good angle because he XL impacts into the middle of all of them.
Does he
That's just
make
free
it?
impale setup. Not good.
Yep, that's fine. Well, you know what it is? He was thinking about the impale, but I think the melee minion arrived in time that Yagro didn't go into Garen's. That's why he didn't go for it.
True.
Yeah, but either way, turret is taken. Bit more of the map, bit more global gold. This Garen is definitely doing exactly what you thought it was going to be. It is the force to be reckoned with that is causing a thorn inside this Lane Zero Maelstrom side. But funny enough, not even so much from the side lane, more just from kind of being a part of these fights. Meanwhile, Skarner getting run down. That's going to be the nice impale on 2 members, bringing them further back in. So Jarvan going to go for the flag to get some out there. Actually, immediately, like Asante goes down by sprinklers. He shows up into the fight unstoppable. Skarner got the flash over the wall. He may be tanky, but not to handle 5 members. That sentence not quite going to land, not quite together. But Garen sees his target. He knows what he wants. Skarner has to drift his way through the wall to make it out. Suddenly, Summit Esports Wawas immediately take the reins in this game and do not let off the gas.
That's the exact interaction of why Kasate sucks into Garen. He got ulted at like 50% health after the all-out went out. Like, what exactly is he going to do when Demacian Judgment just comes in and blows him up from that far?
Look at that. Justice.
Justice. But Garen's just freaking running around these fights, and I'm not sure how they're going to answer it. NA Stallion, he did get the ulti on top of Mei, and I think Osro may have also gotten caught there too. I'm not exactly sure. I thought that would have been the best angle for them because they have both of the carries down, but it was really only Cassante and Ezreal there at the fight, and both frontliners just get blown up immediately, so some of Esports Wawas are doing a really great job of recuperating themselves from the mid-game like disconnects that they've had, and are kind of just showing up, stomping every single team fight.
Yeah, they're finally starting to get their groove on, and honestly, they're starting to work out. The Oriana having the items and the extra bit of damage, especially in that Crypt Bloom, is really starting to make those ultimate shockwaves really play a role when you get them something like the Victor or the Ezreal. It's equally so, I think that Ashe is kind of starting to really land these arrows and be a lot more, like a better diligent in firing them off. I think that every time one of those arrows lands, you know you have some benefit to yourself. Rush looking around. I don't know if he's gonna try to like make a pull play or something. I think they're actually more just providing pressure for Garen. As it looks like he's actually gonna start running up. He knows that Baron is only a minute 30 away. Maybe they're trying to get some pressure over here on the top side of the map. As it looks like he sees a Skarner. He knows if he wants to, he can go for it. But Skarner's gonna immediately nope out of there.
Yeah, Sprinkler's doing a really good job making sure that these waves are shoved out so that they can do this 4-1 push towards topside. True Shot Barrage misses, but Boywife is also doing a really good job with his positioning. I'm gonna be real, I think he has like a 70% hit rate on all of his death sentence. It's crazy. Here's another death sentence that's getting
See
hit, by
another
the
one.
way.
Yep.
Like, we might have to check Boy Wife for scripts, because these hooks are getting a little crazy. Uh, but yeah, like, some of these sorts of Wawas are playing the map super well, and there's not really a good way for Lane Zero Maelstrom to actually be playing around these lane pushes.
Mm. Yeah, Lane Zero are starting to find themselves a bit more at odds. I think that before, the real talk, and kind of what we even discussed before, is this idea of, okay, do you want a 4v5 scenario? Do you want it to deal with a split pushing Garen and kind of say, okay, maybe we'll go for team fight plays? Now they are reaching a critical mass where not only is Garen being more active in these team fights and being a participant, kind of letting Orianna be the one to side lane split, but at the same time, in a 5v5, they definitely don't win. Even in kind of a 4v5 scenario, it looks like they're starting to struggle a little bit, even when a member of some Wawas maybe is a little bit late to the fight. So I think that right now what they're trying to do is figure out how much longer they need to kind of keep this game more stalled out and less active. Hopefully they can make their way back. Look at
Wait,
that
wait, with the
beautiful
death
death sentence
sentence!
off of the way in. This is going to please pop the flash out. Here comes the Jarvan. He's looking for his way through. Going to knock up the Skarner. There's going to be a redemption popping through on the side. Going to try to keep everyone alive. Skarner looking for his way out. Not quite going to make it. There's going to be slowed down, knocked up, and taken down. And a Stallion put into a rough spot as Garen's going to chase down we can, but not find somebody to kill. What an insane play from Boy White.
This should be a free Baron for them, because they killed a jungler. And by the way, just to say, Azrael flashed out of the Impale and just started gliding on Skarner. Like, Azrael is on ice skates at this point. He is gliding. And Skarner just doesn't have any escapes now because of like all the slows that are being applied to him. Like, once his Ixchel impact goes, there's nothing that's going to be able to stop the chains of slows that he's getting hit by. So, really well played from some Esports Wawas. Great catch from Boy Wife. They did an amazing job with that death sentence and basically initiated that play.
Yeah, immediately. Listen, I'm not an ADC player. I'm a top laner through and through. There's one thing that I've learned as an Ezreal. It's that you never want to E forward unless you know you're getting a kill. And I don't think a full health thresh is the way to go. I think even more so, a full health thresh that apparently is just omnipotent and knows exactly where you're going to jump and knows you're going to run at him is another thing you really shouldn't do. So either way, clearly a bit of a very good turnaround from Boy Wife. As it looks like right now, Summit Esports Wawa are not afraid to jump into this lane. They know that they have pressure on the top side. They know that they have to answer this Garen, and they're well aware that they really want to take advantage to go wherever they want. Not going to go all out. Actually, force the flash out of Garen. Doesn't want to get caught up and burst down a bit too quickly with Karma there to keep Cassante alive, even through the execution true damage. So we see a scenario now where it looks like some of the esports are just going to enjoy their time pushing these lanes and trying to get this mid lane inhibitor turret, as Garen just going to keep on having to draw some split pressure. Pull in on Skarner, and then pull out the shield. Here you go. Garen's not showing up in the mid lane. They know that they have a minion wave. They're immediately focusing down this turret. It's immediately bursted down by the Ashe autos with that Ranger's focus. Inhibitor going to go down as well. All they need is for Garen to show up and threaten a singular hit. And just like that, the turret is taken. The base is officially broken open as Jarvan. Jarvan has to pull a quick flag and drag to not get caught out immediately after.
Hey, everyone report Sprinkler for that. Thank
True.
you.
True. Griefer.
But yeah, that was a really well executed siege. Like, their Baron buff is probably gone now, if not about to be gone. And by making sure that the mid tower gets broken open, they have a way to end the game now. And since it's mid lane, like, it's super easy to spread out and try to take the other towers too, because they're going to be pinching the lanes that may get played out. And
Okay. Hold on.
another death
Let's
sentence.
on Cassante. Now, Cassante is not the one who's going to get out, but they do get enough damage down on this turret that now this bot lane inhibitor is open wide. There we go. Pull in. Look at that beautiful use of Cataclysm to bring out the backside and the front side. Godlike on this Garen is now we have another flag and drag coming through. Stun on there, but there's going to be Ashe getting it through. Ezreal has to jump away. Double kill onto Ashe onto the Karma. Cassante goes all out to try to keep himself alive. It's not going to be nearly enough as May going to go ahead and focus everything down. That's another inhibitor down. There are minions in the base. There's one lone Ezreal to keep things alive, and I think it's safe to say Summit Esports Wawas are going to take the first game.
Boy Wife, don't miss. Put them on a freaking platter because they're going crazy.
Wow, that was a game and a half. Okay, so let's talk about this. So early lane swap by Lane Zero Maelstrom. Great way to neutralize Garen. we can talk about the 2 early kills, but ultimately I think that there was enough else going on otherwise. Eventually, we switch back and we get those insane double kills on top side Lacio Maelstrom. It really seems like things are going awry, but at the end of the day, Oriana got to scale up, Jarvan was able to keep consistently across the map, and the Garen did what he needed to do. He drew enough pressure to let the other side of the teams kind of collect, and ultimately, I think we both said it, the victor from Lacio Maelstrom was kind of lacking a little bit, I think.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't able to get the even to a head lane that he wanted to play for. And by the time he was able to come online, uh it was just like so difficult for them to play any fight. Jarvan and Oriana are like constantly going for either the Ezreal or the Victor with their combo the entire time. And Ashe is just gliding on the front line, so if Victor is able to kill any of their front line, you're gonna have to deal with an Ashe that is just beating down everybody. So I felt like if this Victor, if Lane Zero Maelstrom probably played towards their Victor a lot more and made sure that he wasn't 0-3-0 by 12 minutes, maybe they would have had a better chance, especially since the Otacon play looked significantly in their favor. Uh, I just felt like if they wanted to make sure they play for a much stronger early game, they might have a chance of pulling out game two, but some at Wawas are definitely playing the we're so back and it's so Jover type beat right now.
Yep, Wawas have definitely proven themselves already in this first game, but we're going to go ahead and take our break as we see what they're going to pull out in the next match in this series. Be right back. right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the week 2 of the Titan Immortal League as we are here watching Summit Wawas versus Lane Zero Maelstrom. As we saw in game 1, that Summit Esports managed a pretty good draft for themselves, had some good sideline pressure, and more than managed to make up for it with an Oriana Jarvan combo to take the win over Lane Zero. This time around, we'll see if game 2 Lane Zero makes any adaptations or Summit Wawa takes this in a clean 2-0 series so far. Now we look at the bans. Looks like some of them are going pretty similar. The Hui and the Varus the same for Summit. Meanwhile, Lane Zero keeping that Pantheon and Jace. I believe the Corki was actually a Summit ban last time, so adapting versus the Aurora ban from Summit this time around on blue side. So we'll see what they decide to put some priority on for this first pick. Obviously, they know the jungle worked out. They know the lanes that did or didn't. And more importantly, I don't think Garen is going to be a pick for them this time around, as clearly they are not going to be picking it guaranteed to Cassante like last time. So I'm curious what they decide to adapt with, if they decide to go for some early jungle pressure. But it looks like instead going to lock in the Misfortune for their first pick. Going to try to get a little bit of some very damage in the bottom lane to start off. As we keep looking, and we're going to see exactly how Lane Zero decides to adapt for themselves. I think that the Misfortune does scream that you know what you're in for. You have the strut movement speed, you have the bit of the slow with Make It Rain. So I'm curious what they're going to adapt with in range. Obviously, things like the Ezreal and Karma they picked in game 1 are still available. Things like maybe some other different range carries are still available. I believe that technically Jinx was banned previously, isn't now. Instead, Lane Zero are going to go for the jungle and the person, and they're going to pick the Vi, which is a very different pick in certain ways from their first one. It's the same heavy engage, but obviously going for a lot more burst damage, something like the cease and desist and Vault Breaker. But gonna pair that with the Jin. So a similar long range carry, but certainly one way more known for crit damage than for spell casting. So I'm curious if maybe this adaptation works differently for them, especially against the Misfortune and knowing the difference in what the lane is going to be. As long as Summit Wawa can already pick and know what they're going to do for their support role in the. Let's see exactly what this lock-in goes down to. The Xin Zhao hovered and picked up. So we're going for some very different styles of jungler. Well, at least, yeah, I would say different in both sides. Lanes are going for a bit less tankiness, a bit more upfront damage, whereas Summit, I would argue, going for a lot more kind of upfront run at you with the Xin Zhao, with things like the charge, with the knock up and the 3-point strike. So we'll have to see how this difference plays out, especially considering things like that also being able to block out a lot of outside damage. It does work really well technically against Jin if you can place it in time and kind of eat in those curtain call shots. The Maokai is the third pick as well. So we have a lot of kind of you use it mostly for engage, but a little bit of disengage as well to go with the Misfortune, I would argue, with the bottom lane. Very, very different lane already so far for Summit Wawa on the bottom side. Well, let's see what Lane Zero decide to counter with before we go into the second ban phase. Oh, and it gets locked in. We get to see the Ambessa come through. This is going to be a very, very volatile top lane already, especially considering the fact that they now have the second round of ban phases to take away a couple of the more troublesome picks, such as, I was going to say, Renekton, and immediately it gets locked in as a ban. As I hear Guard now coming back and can comment on the draft with me. But it looks like so far we got some very different lanes. First off, Lane Zero going for a much more aggressive top side with the Vi and the Ambessa, and Summit Wawa going for some very different bottom side picks with the Misfortune and Maokai.
Yeah, the Misfortune first pick is a little greedy in my opinion. It's super difficult for teams to really execute the Misfortune. Granted, we are playing in like Master 600 LP. I think they understand how that works. But considering how they insta-lock the Vi immediately, Misfortune is going to have to do her best to make sure that if she gets targeted by the Assault and Battery, that she's able to get in a position afterwards to get a good bullet time off. Otherwise, like, her entire kit's kind of useless. We do have the Jinzhou and the Maokai to help facilitate that, thanks to the Crescent Guard and the Grasping Roots that lock down all of these opponents. But, it's just going to be a lot of positioning that's probably much harder to execute compared to the Ashe from last game. Uh, I like the Ambessa pick here. It definitely is going to be a little difficult to execute against the Maokai, but with how easy it is to follow up the Vi ulti with an Ambessa ulti, I'm sure they're going to be able to get a lot of success into diving their backline, and the Leona is also going to help facilitate that. So, a really tanky lane zero Maelstrom front line so far.
Yeah, very tanky front line, and definitely a lot of ways to kind of keep Misfortune protected. You have obviously Maokai things like the Twisted Advance, like the Twisted Tree Roots, have a lot of ways to kind of keep some protection, but even more engaged from lane zero with the Leona going in with the Vi means there's going to be a lot of lockdown of their own, or at least ways to get into range. Meanwhile, the immediate double solo lane pick of the Akali and the Camille. That was Akali banned last round, but the Camille going into the Mbess is another kind of strong pick to kind of handle that bit of mobility. Meanwhile, the Talia coming in for the last pick, wanting that Weaver's Wall and wanting the ability to really pressure in Akali in that range melee matchup in the mid lane. This is going to be a very, very different look from our game one. This game, it looks like Summit's going to be a lot more in the range on engage. Things like the Xin Zhao, Akali, and Camille all kind of running down what they can, hopefully getting onto the Jinx, getting onto the Talia, and then kind of, I'm not going to say leaving Misfortune out to dry, but putting Misfortune a bit of an awkward spot. They're going to be running in and she can't quite follow up or maybe not get a good bullet time off. So I'm actually very, very interested as to how this game goes for Summit Wawa, especially in the bottom side of the map.
Yeah, the Akali is definitely an interesting pickup here. I'm not sure if they thought this Abyssal was supposed to be a mid lane, or they were betting on it being a mid lane pick. Obviously, it is a pretty strong flex between top and mid, so one of us is going to be screwed regardless. And it seems like the Akali is going to be the one with the short end of the stick, thanks to the Talia. But if Akali is able to play out this laning phase, I'm sure she's going to find success on the other lanes, thanks to how much mobility she has against a Jhin or an Ambessa, just being able to chase her down. But I mean, I feel like there's other picks you could have picked here for mid lane. I think the Camille is fine. It helps lock down people for the Misfortune thanks to the Hextech ultimatum. It also makes sure that Camille's always going to have a threat on the side lane similar to Garen if left unattended. And this time, however, Camille will have the ability to run TP Ignite. So Sprinkler is definitely going to have a lot more presence on the map wherever he is.
Yeah, I think Sprinkler will definitely have a lot more presence, and I think that ultimately the Camille is going to be similar in some ways, different in others. But I think that the kind of problem, or I guess what I'm looking at here and I'm seeing is definitely still questionable, is that Camille, especially with the TP Ignite scenario, is not unkillable. And knowing Vi, knowing that that's going to be really a matchup that she can influence, and Bessa with a lead is still going to be a very dangerous thing to let scale into that mid game, and you can kind of just run around freely in an early game scenario. So honestly, Vi has a lot of options here. If you kill a Kali in a lane that's already rough against Talia, you really make that unsurmountable. If you kill the top side and kill the Camille, that becomes a lot easier to snowball. And even bottom side, I mean, I think bottom side is going to be the hardest one of them to handle with Maokai there to protect Misfortune and Misfortune's general range. But Jin's not exactly a short range carry either. He has things like the Deadly Flourish and the traps to kind of keep things slow. So I think this is really a game where I'm going to see exactly what Xin Zhao decides to go for on the map, and if he decides to try to look for encounter engage, I think that's going to be the best spot for him, knowing that his solo laners especially are going to be probably in some rough waters.
Yeah, but we'll see how the game plays out once they load in. But I think that's really all the analysis I have for them. Because
Yeah, I know. Yeah, this
whichever
one.
team, yeah, whichever team is able to play out after pressing the go button is gonna be the clear victors here. Just like, does the Jinzhou Camille Maokai pull ahead from the Mbessa Leona Vi? Like,
Yeah,
we'll
this is
have
going to
to
be an
see like
interesting.
once these like 15-minute plus games or game time
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly how the mid game shakes up pretty much both of these guys. But as you said yourself, and as I would agree with, we're not going to know until we're into the game itself. So, folks, let us go ahead and get ourselves set up for the second game, and we'll be right back with Summit Wawas versus Lane Zero Maelstrom. and gentlemen, welcome back. We are on the Rift. We are ready to go. Summit Esports Wawas going against Lane Zero Maelstrom. 1-0 currently in Summit's favor. At a very, very different draft from game one. A lot more aggression for the side of Lane Zero Maelstrom and a little bit more, let's call it all in and engage on the side of Summit Wawas. So it's going to be a lot more of a bloody match, I think, and that's saying something given how last games tended up turning out. So right now, little five-man engage, sorry, five-man stack, nothing really going on, so we're going to go into a simple 5-point, which I would almost argue does benefit Summit. I think that kind of the level 1 here is maybe more aggressive, but you don't want to risk something turning around. It's something, like a good Ambessa, like a good Ambessa sweep into slam for some AoE, especially a vault breaker knocking somebody up and getting that first blood. So I think this is more in their favor, but ultimately, laning phase is going to start up in another 30 seconds, and we'll see exactly how these two match up.
Now they do try to get a ward onto the Summit Esport Wawas Raptors, but I'm fair. Yeah, Morn started with this sweeper, so he was just able to clear that out just fine. And Azura and Boyway for just setting up in this push to just get some early poke. Like, I feel like their trades against Jin should be much easier, especially since Leona doesn't really count as a champion level 1, unless they walk straight into her face, but I'm fairly certain that they want to try to abuse these players as much as possible before the level 2 fights start happening.
Yeah, I think level 2 fights are really going to be where it becomes a problem, especially considering the fact that, Jin having the Deadly First to follow up straight up with the Zenith Blade and Shield of Daybreak is going to be a real problem to deal with. Meanwhile, over on the tops, they're seeing that Mbessa and Camille are kind of making trades. Camille, obviously, with that early shield, going to go ahead and take a lead. One more thing, actually, that we pointed out that we were talking about with Camille, but it turns out is the opposite. Camille decided... Ooh, hold on. I wasn't sure. Camille actually decided to go for the Flash TP rather than the Ignite TP. Maybe missing a little bit of kill perks, but against especially like an Ambessa who with the amount of heals she's going to get, you kind of want the Ignite. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but I think that's a bit interesting of a choice.
I think it's fine. The Flash secures a lot more of these hookshot plays that may want to happen, assuming that he plays like 369 or Ben, but the Flash just lets him get onto Jin or Talia a lot easier without having to rely on just the hookshot. So even though the kill pressure does go a little bit down, I don't think Sprinkler really wants to be playing for said early kills, just because like Camille's going to be able to play much later into the game. The Ignite doesn't really help facilitate that as much as a Flash, so I think that's fine.
No, I think that's fair. I think I get in my head. It's just I always think to myself that someone like Camille, you want to be able to have that means of kind of securing that early kill and being more. I guess kind of like using that pressure. But then again, against someone like Mbessa who has enough mobility, maybe you're not looking for that. So you can even see there, even with a straight up hook shot to the face, the amount of shield that Mbessa ended up getting off of that repudiation. God, honestly, that in itself is a mouthful of an ability to carry. It's it's a new one. But off of that shield, especially considering that you get as long as you take damage, is a really big boon for that champion against these trades. Meanwhile, Maokai going to go for a little bit of a trade, just going to get a little bit of damage onto Leona while able to. I'd say right now, like you said, it's going to be a little bit more early poke onto MF's side, but I think that Jin, once he kind of gets that first item, starts building some components, is still going to be a really big threat with that just immediate CC combo.
The early trades from Sprinkler have been kind of Mbessa favored, just because of how much shielding that Repudiation provides for her. And Camille's also just a mana champion. Like, there's only so much trading that can happen before she's forced to reset. And Camille is just going to have to succumb to this pressure. I will say the Sundering Slam from Mbessa isn't doing as much damage as I thought it would be doing early game, but once she starts getting these items, it's going to be a lot more of a pain.
Yeah, from what little I have played of her, the Sundering Slam becomes way more when you have the bonus AD to really use off of that max HP. The other game, find out that it's actually way more of the Cunning Sweep that really kind of gets you your little bit of poke damage. But either way, for right now, the champion's more than happy to just kind of let herself scale, gets out level 6 point. Because once she is level 6 and kind of has that bit of Omnivamp and healing from abilities, that's really when the champ starts to shine in these exchanges. Is right now, it's like you're going to have a first reset in the top side, Camille and Mbessa actually both taking their first back. Mbessa getting the pickaxe, getting a little bit more of that bonus AD, whereas Camille, I'm actually wondering what they said go for. They probably have enough for an early Sheen if they decide to go for more trading, or they might just try to go for maybe Phage components. But it looks like, nope, still going to be the first Sheen pickup.
I'm wondering which build this Ambessa is going to go, because there's been two distinct builds. It's usually either an Eclipse, Shojin, and Cleaver Rush, or it's the Voltaic Chainsword Opportunity and Shojin build that's been popping up every so often.
Mm-hmm.
Considering how if Ambessa gets an early lead into this game, I feel like she'd probably go the much more lethality-based build, but it's going to be really difficult because Morn and Boywife are just going to get super tanky, and we do see two people trying to invade.
Ooh. Okay, hold on. You're gonna get a double hit off of the Nocturne. Actually, immediate Weaver's Wall coming in from Talia to dissuade anything further. This is gonna be a simple disengage. Vi gonna pick up some plants. So Camille's gonna take the one auto and leave. Talia now out of position. Perfect execution. First shot's gonna go through. There's gonna be the slow, waiting for the ultimate pick, gonna get it through. That's a lot of damage on Talia. Is it gonna be enough? I don't think so. Akali should go for the flash just to secure. That's first blood going into the hands of Mei. Meanwhile, there's going to be Xin Zhao going in, gets the extra hit off of the long range spear, but not going to get the knock up on the 3-point strike. So Camille actually going to go for a bit of a trade here on the top side. Knows that she can, doesn't hit the cook shot, but these are two top lane champs that don't mind scrapping just a little bit. I think Camille right now, with the Sheen, especially with the grass proc, is more than fine with that trade.
I think Maokai just stole some of the Krugs.
I think so too. Ooh, hold on. Wait. Camille's looking for it. Okay, I was saying definitely a good trade. I was wondering if they were just going to go for the ultimate and play through, but with the Ambessa flash still up, there was definitely a world where you pop that ult, she flashes on the turn, and then you're just screwed. So, as I can say, just going to take the small trade, gets the healing off the tactical sweep, which is nice. So, top side definitely looking a little bit more even than maybe I was thinking it would be after that first back.
But as we mentioned before, though, Sprinkler is going to be on the timer just because of how much mana Camille will be burning through these trades, while Ambessa just gets to worry about energy and energy alone. And we see that Lane Zero Maelstrom are prepping for this dragon. They know that Jhin was topside thanks to that early fight, and they realized that his clear wasn't complete due to how slow the Gromp clear was. So they're going to try to abuse this as best as possible, but, you know, this Maokai's doing a lot dissuading that with just tossing saplings over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, the saplings are going to really be a good tool for, I mean, essentially, like it always is, it's a good scouting tool. It's obviously just a little bit of good damage, but more importantly, I think that Maokai's real role in this is just going to be being the big meat shield that is intended to solely defending whatever carry of choice, whether it be Akali, whether it be MF, whether it be potentially Camille, and kind of try to follow her in. I am more interested, I would say, if nothing else, in exactly how they decide to spread out once we get into neutral objectives, considering the fact that Akali, with a 1-kill lead and a bit of CS, is definitely putting a bit more pressure on than this Talia. And it's actually, I think, why, hold on a second, Leona going to go for the immediate flash Zenith Blade, forces the flash out of Akali, just going to walk away, but they are going to trade away Maokai for it. Immediately, he's excited about Maokai's ability to potentially peel for someone. He does just that by sacrificing himself instead of giving up Akali.
Yeah, I didn't expect the Maokai to buffer the Zenith Blade out like that, but unfortunately, it wasn't enough. The Jhin ultimate was doing so much damage thanks to the force shot execute damage. And it looks like they might try... No, never mind. But they certainly could have been in position to dive into Misfortune. Xin Zhao was trying to look to see if there were any camps topside. I believe he was able to successfully clear them. But the early Infernal Drake loss may come back to bite them in the butt if they're not careful.
Alright, well, either way, right now we're going to go ahead and see exactly the way this all plays out. Looks like so far we've got a little bit of an issue in this mid lane, as it looks like Akali's starting to slowly push in onto Talia, and both, well, sorry, excuse me, similar to what you say about the Camille, Talia's actually the one starting to run a little bit low on mana with that tier still stacking and not having much else besides the Doran's ring, so we'll have to see exactly if they try to shove this out. The TP is almost available. Hold on, we got a little bit more going down the bottom side. It's going to be a root onto Maokai. That's going to be the Vault Breaker. Instantly trying to lock that down. I'm not sure that's really the play, but it looks like Leona's shaking a little bit low. MF was thinking about trying to follow through. Actually going to go for the Vault Breaker. He's going to miss. Maokai's stalling out for just a little bit longer. Jhin is not in a great spot right now, so it's going to be a flash burn. MF actually going to go for the flash forward. Going to secure with the use of Make It Rain to get the slowdown. Jhin is up, but not going to be able to keep this Xin Zhao from going any further, but still, it ends up being a 1-for-1 trade off of some good pressure coming through from the MF.
Yeah, that was certainly... Oh my, that trade was pretty good. Like, Leona was able to just insta-flash onto the Maokai, and it was the whole reason that this entire fight started, thanks to NA Stallion also following up with the Assault and Battery. But Jin Zhao was there to follow up after the play, and Azrael just played that out super well. To make it rain, made sure to stall out for that fight initially, and he was able to pick off the Leona because of the second Make It Rain, picking off with the slows and just finishing off with some good old love
A
taps.
lot of time we got a little bit more going on as Maokai getting caught out once again. The feat of warfare officially being taken by Lane Zero Maelstrom as 3 kills go into their pocket. 2 of them, sorry, excuse me, all 3 of them actually at the hands of Boywife. Meanwhile, over here on the top side, Camille's trying to go for a trade with that hookshot, get a heal off of that tactical sweep, but not going to be enough to be out of the woods. As Ambessa does have that ultimate readily available, especially if Camille's going to put herself into a nice spot to be picked up. Sprinkler in a bit of a pickle as that public execution is screaming to be used over here on the top side.
Thankfully, Morn is here to safely hover the Camille, but Grubbies are going to be gone now thanks to that Maokai pick that they Lane Zero Maelstrom got earlier. And even though Kali may be looking for an angle, Talia is also very aware that there's maybe a fight happening, and with the Unravel there, the bullet time.
Okay, going for the Make It Rain bullet time pretty instantly on Jin. Maybe just trying to pressure him out of the lane, but not quite getting nearly as much damage as they thought. That is going to be 3 grubs going here onto the side of Maelstrom. And not for nothing, but I think one more neutral objective, whether it be grubs or the next Drake, is going to give them that feat of strength officially, as they already have the 3 kills. We'll have to see exactly what they decide to lay out, knowing what's left. Maokai getting rooted up immediately by Jin, as Boywife trying to find the way in, but they are just not able to do so.
You know, one thing I realized with why that bullet time wouldn't work out the way is not just because it's he wasn't as close as Misfortune may have liked, but also he got Swifties early. What is Make It Rain is not going to be able to slow him at all. So that's one of the main reasons why Jin was just able to get out of that much more unscathed than he would have normally been.
Absolutely, and especially considering the fact that if they do get those feats, the added bit of movement speed you get with it as well means it'll be even harder to catch without even getting the upgrade. So I am curious to see exactly what their plan is going to be for that. Obviously, this MF did get that early kill using the Make It Rain and using it to kind of effectively turn around what was a rough gank, but we're certainly not out of the woods yet, as Camille's going to at least get a little bit more pressure on top by getting a plate, and hopefully using that to finish up this Triforce. I'm not sure exactly how much gold is in the pocket, but Triforce versus Eclipse on that top side actually I think does net Camille right now. I think second item goes in Ambessa's favor most likely, but I think on just first item Eclipse versus Triforce, I would definitely say Camille has the advantage. So maybe Summit try to use this to get a little bit more pressure on top side, knowing that bottom side not that they're necessarily losing in pressure because MF at least got the kill to match Jin, but they're certainly onto a rough spot. That's going to be a solar flare going down, an immediate stun, an immediate knockup. That's going to be a nearly finished off. Zencho actually barely lives through with the ultimate. I think that Vault Breaker's him taken down. Maybe does kill Talia a little bit first, though, but that's going to be the public execution going down as Arthur's in a rough spot, locked in. Gonna actually be able to flash over the wall just barely as the timer runs out. Meanwhile, May not going to be able to get that return kill, a shutdown onto him. Maokai goes in, Camille goes in as well. Look at that beautiful knockup. Maokai lives, Camille flashes forward, Vi barely living with that little bit of a Vault Breaker shield. Arthur's going to pick up one as well, still alive. That's going to be a 1 down. It's a double kill into that, but Jin actually picks up Camille. They don't get the finish off Vi in time. Bondi being a wonderful turnaround as Misfortune not going to be able to finish off anything else. It ends up being a 3 for 4 and in fail of Lane Zero Maelstrom.
Can I just say Sundered Sky is a very balanced item? Because that Vi, I'm pretty sure, started that fight with, or ended the fight with more HP than what she started with. Because the whole reason why Camille wasn't able to pick off the Vi that early was just Sundered Sky healed her for like 180 HP. Like, that is an extra gene proc Q for Camille. That's not the amount of time that she's gonna have, thanks to the super fed Jin shooting her in the face. And so, if that didn't go any quicker, Camille is not able to turn on Jin at all. He has to get rid of the Vi immediately, and just wasn't able to secure that as he would have hoped.
Yeah, right now, Jin is definitely going to be way more of a problem, especially I think after securing a second item. Plus, having finally secured those feats of strength and taking that Drake means that this entire squad is going to have that little bit of an extra buff. Nothing major, but enough to put a little bit more oomph in their step. And even though the gold may be even, it's going to definitely be going more and more into their hands as time goes on. So we'll have to see exactly the way they decide to play this out. Otacon now showing on the bottom half of the
Ooh,
map.
Vite's looking for lane games though.
Okay, hold on a second. There's going to be a lane gang potentially going through. Arthur going to miss with everything just about, but that extra shield on the side. But the lane still pushing in means that Vi knows she has to wait a little bit longer to try to go into that first push that they can get. The question is going to be, does Sprinkler take the bait? Does Arthur go for a little bit more of a rough engage and try to walk through? Actually going to leave the lane, I think, or maybe get close to it. Nope, that might be his thing. Public execution not
Oh
going to go through.
no.
There's going to be Xin Zhao as well here, though. Hold on a second. Maybe they can turn something around here. Arthur taking low. Vi going for the ball. We're going to get it through. Arthur does take out Sprinkler, and now it's just Xin Zhao, and he is well within his range as everyone's going to just knock him down despite the force field put around him. That's going to be 2 more kills going to Lane 0 Maelstrom, and this game is starting to slowly fall apart for some.
Yeah, as much as the public execution did miss, like Vi was ready to follow up on that, and Camille is just
okay, hold on. Maybe May's here get a return kill at the very least, so we're gonna get something for it. And not for nothing, Jin to get chunked down enough that even despite a good solar flare and zenith where they weren't able to take that knockback, gonna go for the flash in, gonna get the knock up forward, shut down onto the Misfortune as Boy Wife. They're gonna try to see if they can get themselves out of here. Not sure. They're gonna try to rely on perhaps some healing off the passive. They're gonna be able to get it. Gets the Tissue Trance, goes for the knockup, goes on the bit of damage, and yep, that's going to be a Leona killed as well. So 2 return kills in the bottom lane. Maybe not what they were hoping for, but maybe enough. Hold on, gonna try to block with a W. Oh no, it's not gonna be enough. The scaling didn't drop, and now Talia's just gonna slowly pick up. I think this is gonna be a enough. Oh, actually, wait, Xin Zhao is here to maybe eat my words. Gonna try to body block, but not gonna be enough. Xin Zhao at least gets the return kill onto Talia. I knew this game was starting getting a little bit bloody. I think it was going to be this disorganized kind of bloody. But still, I would say overall, I think I was technically net positive for Summit at the end.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Jin loses quite a bit of CS on her tower. Even though Talia was able to pick up a huge shutdown off of the Misfortune, Jin Zhao goes from top side to gray screen to bot side and gets the kill for himself, finally putting himself on the board. And honestly, I just want to say the execution of that play from Summit, especially from Boy Wife, was extremely good. Like, Boy Wife was able to time out the Jin spacing extremely well thanks to the W and Q combo into the tower. So Jin was just not able to move for like 4 seconds. Oh, hold on, there might be a bot play happening.
There's definitely a play here for a full house. This is Camille's like she's trying to run out. She may have gotten the turret, but I think she's going to be losing her life force. So this way goes through. There's going to be immediate soul fire. Actually, technically doesn't land it, but I don't think it's going to get her out. I don't think the hook shot's in time. It's actually they're going to burn the vault breaker. Sorry, excuse me, the cease and desist as well. So definitely going to be burning a lot of resources that you do kill Camille in the process.
Unfortunate, Sprinkler. You're not playing Garen this time. You can't just get out of that safely like that.
Let's see. Now we have to really worry about exactly what's going to happen the rest of the map. So Kali's going to be more content to back themselves away and not quite go for anything further there. But ultimately, this is starting to come down to a question to say, because Summit does take a small gold lead of 1k. They do have even grubs, and they even have a turret lead. Yes, they do have a turret lead. And that's mostly where their global gold is coming from. So the question is, what do they decide to prioritize here? You have MF and you have Akali more than ahead, and I would argue you have a tankier side of things with the Xin Zhao at least having that Eclipse finish with the Phage and then Maokai. But I think that ultimately the question is when or if what's going to happen when this Vi and this... Hold on, we get a lot of damage down. Zen he's alive, and it's handle Talia's damage. There's going to be 1 shot of Jin that he gets to block for free. 2 miss, 3 misses. He's going to land the 4th. He is not going to. Meanwhile, the fight over here in the bottom side, Maokai's going to get rooted up. That's going to be gold time. That's immediately flashed out. The public execution is going to get MF stopped in her tracks. That's MF taken down finally by this Mbessa. This is exactly what I was starting to say before we got into that. As a double kill goes onto Mbessa, eventually MF's going to get focused down. Stallion going to pick up a kill for himself as well on that Maokai. May just slowly taking this top turret, but I'm not sure if that top turret is worth 3 of your teammates.
And that was exactly the problem when we were gonna see with this Misfortune. She can't stand still into Mbessa by Talia or Leona. It's just super hard for her to play the game. And, you know, Jin Zhao getting caught earlier, burning the Crescent Guard, he's not able to play for his team at all. He just has to sit out from that fight. So it's just basically a 2v4 the entire time. Sprinkler's not able to join at all because he's too big. He kind of has to catch the side lane because that fight is not even a fight for Summit admins. So Boy Wife and Azrael are just going to have to take the brunt of all the damage there and die.
Yeah, right now, right now, boy wife is really starting to kind of, also, the first game on the Thresh, she was able to kind of come back with a few good hooks, few good plays, and they were really starting to play off that. This game is going to be a little bit harder because Twisted Treeline, while they do have that tool in their thing, especially with the Twisted Advance and the amount of branches, this is going to be a harder game for them to really make um, those same kind of turnaround plays. Maybe they're going to at least get a kill on the Griffin on the top side, but Otacon always over here on the bottom, and Akali has actually no. Akali does have at least a teleport to jump in here.
Oh, the Jhin!
Look at that beautiful lockdown on Jhin, but I don't think it's going to be nearly enough as Jhin does get rooted up on the backside, but Camille is starting to slowly take a lot of damage. Arthur on a killing spree as he gets plenty of healing off of that Conqueror. Sorry, excuse me, not Conqueror, off of just the ultimate and just the ability to heal off of the Omni-Man. So either way, it ends up being at the end of the day, unfortunately, a 1-for-1 as the Jhin focus not quite get that Tristan advance going down once more. He's going to take a lot of damage. The public execution finally down onto the backside. A lot of damage going down on this Fortune. Look at that, getting hit even by the first hit of Jhin. Gonna have to just run all the way back.
Oh,
they're gonna take down more in the process, and I don't think MF is gonna be long for this world either. That's gonna be one Hex kick going down, keeps up alive, but that's two more. That's another member down. Everyone else way too low to join in. Oh, look at that! The TP trying to go in, but I don't think that was intended for that. It's a killing spree going down. They jump Otacon to try to get Mei, see if they can get out. The Shuriken flip goes one way, and it looks like even Ambessa doesn't want to chase him with all those mini dashes. So Otacon not quite taken. They may have stalled out for just long enough to try to wait it out, but still, this is starting to look rougher and rougher for Summit as that timer kicks down.
I'm still laughing at the TP. I gotta respect it to Talia. That's probably a TP play I would definitely make, and I would also just die too. But that's not a good position you can play him in. They do trade 1-for-1 on somebody, I thought, or at the very least they make Akali burn a lot of important abilities, specifically the Flash. But at the very least, some admins kind of completed their goal there of preventing them from doing Otacon. It's just not looking too great, man. Like, we're giving Maelstrom a lot of kills here, and they're just running us down at this point. And Best is super fed, is catching Misfortune because she can't stand still. Jhin is just catching out the front line because he has so much damage already. Like, some admins are gonna have to pull some sort of miracle play if they want to, like, even remotely stop the bleeding. Now, I do say they are bleeding. It is an even game in terms of gold, but it just doesn't feel that way, you know?
No, it definitely doesn't. I think that ultimately, as much as the gold is even, the tempo is definitely in the favor of Lane Zero. And I think that listen, gold being even is great. It means that you can kind of infight, maybe position yourself, put it on the right carries, especially Mei. 5-1 on the Akali is still definitely a threat that they need to address. The bigger problem is what's lying underneath the surface. Obviously there's the feats of strength. There's also about to be, we need to remember this, a Mountain Soul on the board. And I think Mountain Soul on this team is really what kind of, it doesn't stop Mei in their tracks, but it definitely makes it a lot harder for that immediate burst combo to go through. And I think that if this ends up being a Mountain Soul game, and if they're truly able to kind of pick it up for themselves, and so far, it looks like they're going to be able to, because Morton's having a really hard time getting themselves back into this game. Once that goes in their favor, I think this game gets 10 times harder, especially because you have Ambessa able to heal, Vi able to heal with the Sundered Sky, with her own Vault Breaker shield. Talia obviously doesn't get bursted down, doesn't get bursted down as easily. I think that this game gets a lot harder for Summit, so they need to start putting a lot more priority into securing this bottom side for objectives. Looks like that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about Talia is she also got Seraph, so even if she didn't have a lot of health, like, that pop shield is just gonna save a lot of damage, and I don't know how much a Fed, Akali, or Misfortune are gonna be able to do anything in this game when there's so much lockdown CC and healing for Lane Zero Maelstrom. Now, one thing that can bring them in the game, as you mentioned, is Otacon. If some Esports Wawas are able to secure that, they will be able to play for a False Life. Now, False Life did get the TP.
Okay.
Johnson Misfortune's caught out.
Oh, wait, we're not quite done. Misfortune is caught out. That's going to be the immediate season assist, and that is going to be the kill. TP is coming through, as you mentioned, but I don't even think it was really necessary at this point. Vi trying to go for maybe another Vault Breaker play, looking for a target. Not going to quite let it through. They're going to let it fizzle out. 5 seconds until Drake comes in, and it is a 5v4 scenario. this is gonna be a rough one. That's gonna be public execution immediately going down to Zinjao, getting the lockdown, gonna pop his own ultimate, but what is that gonna do for the Crescent Guard besides delay the inevitable? NA Stallion goes on a rampage, Akali locked down and immediately taken down by Vi. 2 more shutdowns going into the hands of Lane Zero Maelstrom. This is going to be, excuse me, not Mount, it is in fact a Hextech Drake. Those symbols aren't really underneath Drake. And with that, this is going to be Hextech Soul on the side of Lane Zero Maelstrom, Feats of Strength, and a 2k gold lead with what is about to be an Otacon. This is starting to look good.
Yeah, it's just Sprinkler getting caught in the middle of his TP certainly wasn't great, but Misfortune getting caught out mid lane from the Talia Unraveled Earth. Their carry's gone, and Akali isn't not going to be able to blow up their backline like that. So Lane Zero Maelstrom just start running into their jungle. They're able to completely disconnect all of Summon Esports Wawas from the rest of each other, and they just ran him down. Akali's dead. Shutdown goes over to Jhin again. Like, there's so much gold now for Lane Zero Maelstrom, even though, once again, the lane gold difference doesn't even seem that substantial. Like, it just doesn't feel like some esports Wawas are just ever able to play the game.
Yeah, this time around, the draft definitely not working into their favor. The amount of lockdown on the Vi, on the Leona, and I would even argue funny enough, the engage potential in the public execution of the Mbessa really seems to be throwing them for a loop. Like you said, the multiple ways that Misfortune, as a kind of standalone immobile carry, really gets locked down. They're going to try to see if we can do something about this Baron, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to. Look at that Weaver's wall, perfectly blocking them out from the main entryway. We have the Hex Gate going across the side. There's going to be the ultimate from Maokai. There's going to be a beautiful bullet time, actually. Oh my god! That is the kind of game-saving ultimate that you need. Arthur now taking really low. 4 members taken down. 5 all taken down. Would have been an ace if not for Otacon. Oh my word. If you want to talk about a way to come back in the game, that's how you do it. 5 downed members and an immediate Baron play, all off the hands of one really, really good bullet time. Apparently Azura is just here to make me eat every single word I ever let out of my mouth.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are so back, baby.
Oh my god, we're back. Oh wow. Okay, all right. So we have to break that down, okay? Beautiful ultimate from the legend known as Boy White, being able to use their Maokai ultimate perfectly. Misfortune seeing the disruption, going for the ultimate, and honestly, the lack of I guess, of use of flash. Almost all of them have flash available. None of them maybe thought it was gonna be as pressing as it was, but this is a 3 item. I think with the time 3.5 item Misfortune. That's gonna hurt if you let it, and eventually just enough pick-off potential from Mei just to clean up the fight little by little. This is, in fact, going to be a Summit squad that, while down in overall resources, just has the tempo back again almost immediately.
Now, I will say, some of these sport Wawas are not exactly out of the clear yet. If you take a look at Lane Zero Maelstrom, all of them have flashes, so what could have happened there is definitely going to be a lot harder now that they're able to flash out of the twisting advance. But, you know, maybe Boywife gets another giant ultimate in an angle where Misfortune won't be able to easily ult it out of. But that's risking for another pipe dream, and I'm not sure Lightning strikes twice in this situation.
It may not, but you can always dream. I think ultimately what they need to start doing now that you have a bit of their pressure back is there is a play here to start looking for picks. I think that working as a team fight was what kind of they needed to give that tempo and at least not make it so heavily in Lane Zero Maelstrom's favor. Now comes the question, can they do that on an individual pick? Can they try to find 1 or 2 members down, get an uneven fight, because that's going to really be their way into it. Right now, Arthur gonna find Mei, maybe not wanting to, that shield's gonna be Arthur, and the flash immediately, and still gets the kill! Almost immediately! This Akali is not to be messed with. Actually, Maokai is hitting from long range, but I think that maybe it's not going to be in a position to really follow up on it. Wow! And listen, okay, I'm not saying that you were wrong. You said that Akali still didn't do the first people down. I'm just saying.
There's no evidence of that until you post receipts.
Well, I think that the receipt is Arthur's death timer. I'm just saying.
True.
Yeah, exactly.
I will.
Oh, it's regular right now in a bit of a rush. It has to actually burn their own flash. Vi still looking for that cease in the system, pretty sure, but not quite going to make it out. But they're chasing down this Camille and leaving their top side empty. This could be the play that Summit needed. I think this is going to be an early top lane inhibitor. This is how they get the pressure. That's huge to have an open inhibitor.
Yeah, taking down next or Elder Towers is super huge. Bullet
Wait,
time
again? Oh my god! I mean, listen, hey, it worked. It got them off the fight. I guess they want to make sure that they clearly disengage, but wow. Okay, all right. Summit immediately turning on the gas and expanding themselves immediately into a 4.5K gold lead.
now. I will take note. Misfortune is Edge of Night now, so the initial problem having too many stops got a little easier because now Leona can't just use her ultimate to stop it. They have to also commit either the Mbessa ult or the Vi ultimate to stop the Misfortune from bullet timing. So depending on the positioning, it's going to be a lot harder for them to stop the Misfortune, and that is a good sign for some of the esports admins, or not admins, Wawas, from blowing up the backline with the ultimate.
Yeah, honestly, the more they have to contribute into stopping that MF, the more they have a bit more breathing room. Now, something that we don't usually say this early in the game, but it is important to note, 20 seconds until Elder Drake spawns. And ooh, that's a caught out. That's an immediately caught out Xin Zhao and an immediate follow-up on the cease and desist. A double kill on the Misfortune. We were just pointing out how important that is to staying alive, and now we are immediately in a dangerous spot. This turret is also one auto from going down. Eventually does get destroyed. 3 members immediately down from Summit. Mei is alive. Sprinkle is alive, but I don't think they can stop this squad. They're going to just push into the base. There's no way the game ends this quickly after it swings into potential favor. There's no way, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, it may be Joker.
Mei, hold on. Mei is looking. Trying to see what we can find. Still hanging out. Gonna pop the first part execution. Immediately gets stunned up. Gonna go for the second part. Gonna get out of the fight. The minions are down, and Camille's at least stalling out long enough. They might have bought themselves a little bit more time, but all of their tempo has entirely gone out the window.
Oh no, they're running to the Elder Dragon.
Yeah, let's say it, especially because Elder Dragon is officially spawned.
I don't know. This may be a
DP
bit
popped.
of a...
Hold on.
Akali might be going for a gamer save here, but I'm not sure it's going to work. Talia has so much time, and well, look how much damage they're doing to Elder Dragon. Well, it is a gen, but they just might be able to play a counter engage here. Uh-oh.
Wait, hold on. Nope, they immediately say, we know Akali's in the backside. We're not going to fight in the pit. Solar Flare's going to pop. Multiple flashes actually being burned. Akali's in the pit. Going to try to stop out Griffin. Going to try to get a little bit more damage. Arthur goes on a killing spree. And that is now down once again. Maybe trying to go on the other side of the wall, see what they can stop or do. Going to pop that, but it's not going to be enough. And ace for the Talia. And immediately, just when the game looks like someone has a miracle chance, it gets stolen away. And just when they have a second miracle chance, they immediately lose it. Teleports coming in, 2 turrets exposed, and a full team from Lane Zero Maelstrom coming to say goodbye to the Camille. Another ace coming through for Arthur, 2 turrets in the base, and this is going to be a win for Lane Zero Maelstrom, putting the series at a 1-1.
I don't know, Andrew. I think I still need those receipts now.
Okay, listen. Later. Later.
Yeah, well played to Lane Zero Maelstrom. They were able to play exactly how they wanted to, making sure that Misfortune could not play the game through most parts of said game. And because they have so many go buttons through like 3 to 4 of them, there's not really a good way for some of Esports Wawas to actually walk up and try to get any vision. Like we saw like 3 or 4 plays where it was in the exact same river bush where the entire Lane Zero Maelstrom team were just waiting for someone to get caught by the Talia W and E, and every single time it just worked. So hopefully some of Esports Wawas look to draft something that has a lot more ease of access to these choke points. But good job, Lane Zero Maelstrom. Like, really well played after considering what happened game 1.
An excellent turnaround by them, and honestly just a really, really good way to honestly show what they have, right? It was a very different draft, very different style. They wanted to play more active and aggressive, and it really turned out for them off of what is arguably an interesting starting pick in the Misfortune for Summit and seeing what they could do with it. I think that play at Baron showed its potential, but I think that the amount of, like you said, the amount of things that had to go right in execution for that to work was starting to surmount, and eventually it kind of got toppled over. But with that in mind, this is only 2 of the 3 games. We got one more to decide who takes home the victory. So we're going to take a short break and get ourselves settled here for what is going to be the third and final game in the series between Lane Zero Maelstrom and Summit Wawas. and gentlemen, welcome back here as we get settled in for the next game of Summit Wawas versus Lane Zero Maelstrom. As you can see, we have a wonderful graphic of showing that we are still getting ourselves ready in the draft. But obviously, game one going the way of Summit, game two going the way of Lane Zero. Lane Zero means it's my favorite time. It's to figure out the tiebreaker, see who takes the win, who actually gets all the glory, and then just calls that one loss you got under your belt a hoax and a wash and an accident. So we have to see which one of these two can really put the medal down and put their money where their mouth is. And obviously, we might be a little bit biased to we want to win, but ultimately, there's enough to talk about with both games. And I think that surprisingly, they come from different places because it's and you agree with me, Mr. Gar, is that it seems like for Summit, it's all about the bottom lane presence, but for Lane Zero, it's way more about the jungle presence.
You can kind of say that. I mean, so far we've seen Lane Zero Maelstrom draft Ezreal, Karma, and Jin Leona, both who are really good at doing long range, either poke or setup. While we've had Azrael more on like hyper damage AoE threats and picks with the Ashen Misfortune. But I can't really say for certain who plays for what because I think both teams have really solid players in all lanes. Uh, but I don't know, like last game it was basically mid lane and bot lane for Summit Wawas were doing their best to try to not get ran down by the jungler and top laner for Zero Maelstrom. But with that game in tow, like their ADC was also strong. So how can Akali and Misfortune stop the bleeding compared to just Misfortune Akali? So hopefully they're able to fix it up from this draft. Uh, like I said, I hated the Misfortune first pick because I feel like it's just bait. But now that that's out of the way because it's fearless. Why are we banning Varus, guys? We could just draft the
well, we're banning
banning
Varus
Varus
I
then.
said we're banning Varus, we're
Oh,
banning Caitlyn. But hey, look, at the end of the day, we did get the Hui, which actually was banned pretty much all three games. So if nothing else, is going to be a new type of draft adaptation. Now, I am curious if this does go in the middle or the bottom lane. I've seen it in both, but ultimately, it's going to be a different tool for Wawa to have a special, especially with things like the Despair and the giant AOE slowing ultimate. So maybe they use that in effectiveness, and instead the Tristana getting picked up by Maelstrom. So we already have a lot of different drafting changes. It seems like in both games.
yeah, the Hui is a really good flex pick. I don't think Osriel is much of a mage player though, because he seems to be much more of a he likes a hands diff on ADCs, so he's probably looking for
A
something that's able to space
Nocturne.
glide. Maybe a Twitch might be coming out, but there's only so much we can do. We do have the Tristana Nocturne coming out for Zero Maelstrom, which they're definitely still playing for the I'm gonna press go button first, and you guys on Summit Wawas are gonna have to pray that you're able to play back from it. But this toy does a lot of good jobs of
Ooh.
making sure they're able to, well, play from the side. And we see the Shen and Irelia
Wow.
pickups immediately.
Okay, so there's a lot going on here. So now here's the thing. Now, at first I was thinking that must be Shen top Aurelia mid. There is a world where that is a jungle Shen. Actually, I would still see that being a possibility. I know that for a long time, LS was really talking about it. And as a Shen player myself, I've actually tried it. It's the closest I can come to pretending I'm good at jungle. But wow, there's actually still a lot of flexing going on here, and the GP hover does that get locked in? Wow.
Holy.
Okay, all right. So there's there's a lot to talk about here. First off, I will say the one thing I do have to say as a Shen player, the locking in Shen when seeing Nocturne on the enemy team is a rough call. Knowing that you can't quite get off your Stand United fast enough, and knowing you're gonna have to be a lot more present of your team's position, probably use it more as an engage tool rather than a counter engage tool. Could be rough for Wawa if they're not prepared for it, but the GP also means that this game is on a much bigger timer. Tristana already getting more draw a bead range was already on a timer. GP means if you let this guy get to 3 items, 4 items, if he gets to level 15, 16, you're gonna have a very, very rough time dealing with some gigantic crit barrels.
Heck, even his early game is really strong. That his passive is so dumb, and I don't know why they keep buffing it. Like, why are you able to do 100 true damage at level 1, man? Come on. But it's it's
Excuse me,
interesting
sir.
to
It's
see
damage over time.
true. Uh,
that's that's the counterplay.
Yeah. Second wind is definitely going to do a lot of work there. But some esports Wawas are hypothetically drafting all their solo lanes basically, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. Uh, maybe May is getting a little antsy and just wants to play the Irelia to help die with them. This could be a Shen support as well. I know you mentioned the Shen jungle, but I don't think a Shen support is that odd either, considering he can just whatever his W is. I forgot what it is,
Spirit's
but
Refuge.
okay, Spear's Refuge. Like how is Tristana going to be able to stack her like grenade
Explosive shot.
satchel if it's all the autos are getting blocked? So there could be a universe where that happens.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of options. The rel lock in as well. So there's a lot. There's a lot of very easy and immediate lockdown for Zero Maelstrom. They really seem to like. It seems like besides the game one karma, they're really enjoying the heavy engage and the ability to really lock down a single target and try to go for those early picks. Especially with something like Nocturne, it does make sense though when you have the pull in, you have the charge forward. You have a lot of ways on this comp to really lock down a singular target or at least get two or three targets in place for things like a GP barrel, like a Tristana explosive shot, or like I said, like or the satchel charge. The Soraka going through for Summit Wawas, so they're really going for that heal and sustain route, maybe just trying to avoid the idea of a rel all in. But I wonder how they how they finish that. This will kind of answer exactly what's going where. We still have jungle or support in mind potentially, maybe unless Shen goes topside. This is going to answer a lot of things, so I'm just trying to keep everything on its heels until we see what exactly the lock in is. 3 seconds left to go, and it's going to be a
Lilia.
Lilia. Wow. Okay,
We're
so
actually drafting Azure away?
so we got a Lilia lock in. So this is gonna be Shen going up against GP, which as somebody who's played the matchup, not horrible, but not great. And then the Aurelia being early locked in the mid lane. So the question is, does GP actually go mid lane here to take the Aurelia matchup, or do they go for something different in the mid lane? Maelstrom with 5 seconds left for themselves is gonna go for the brand.
That could
Brand
still be a
in
flex.
yeah, I was gonna say brand into well, wait, no, how is that a flex? Because then where would Nocturne go?
No, Brandon
Oh,
Tristana would be like the following.
Brand Tristana. Yeah, sorry, you're right. Yeah, I sometimes forget that brand was played at the bottom
You're
lane.
2 years behind, man. Brand
Okay,
jungle isn't as prevalent anymore.
listen, okay, all right. That's the last that I can think of because I play explicitly top lane, pretty much shedding Cassante, and anything else is I'm just looking at the map. But with that in mind, yes, you're right. Brandon Tristana can obviously swap, so this could be Brandon with Rel, which maybe works a little bit better than the Tristana because you have the Soraka. You just want to kind of burst things down with the passive. But actually, no, sorry, we kind of do the opposite because Soraka be able to heal off the brand passive. I'm not entirely sure, but this is definitely going to be a way more interesting game to go through.
I may have to put my personal bias on there. When you say interesting, the first 3 letters are definitely a little
Okay, listen.
tiny.
Listen, okay. Now there's a question. Something that just occurred to me, and I don't know why I didn't think about this before. Are they doing fearless? They must be, and that must be why all these picks have been different each game.
Yes,
Maybe the
this
bands.
has all been fearless.
Okay, all right, good. I thought so, and I just didn't say it out loud, but that does make a lot more sense. Um, Okay, so looking at this and looking at what exactly to expect, I mean, the bottom lane could be mage on mage. It could be that. And I think the top side is going to be the only real standard lane here. But let me ask you specifically, what do you think of the potential mid lane matchups, whether it be the Brand or the Tristana? Do you think Aurelia is going to fare well in these early levels? Because I think either of those seem like it's a rough like pre level 4, pre level 5.
I think it's a little harder for Irelia and Brand just because Brand doesn't have to aim all of his abilities, thanks to the Fire Pillar and the E Conflagration, I'm pretty sure it's called. I don't remember. But uh just being able to chunk out Irelia without having to interact with her, even if Irelia goes like D shield second one, it's just so annoying. And Brand is able to shut her down like if she tries to go in. Same thing goes with Tristana. Like she has a lot of escape. She has the range to make sure that she gets able to play safe against Irelia. And worst comes to worst, the Buster Shot puts Irelia away from her and could potentially reset the stack. So I don't really see where Irelia is going to fit in these fights. Ah, man, I don't know. I don't like this draft.
The draft, this draft definitely screams that they have some thoughts on how they want the first maybe 15, 20 minutes of the game to play out. And if they lose at that point, this comp gets a lot harder to execute. Like I said, the Shen ult into a Nocturnal is a really big problem. GP's going to scale pretty heavily with barrels. I would argue that Tristana bead scaling is going to make things a lot harder. This screams to me that Summit want to try to roll as hard as they can in the early game and propel themselves forward. I think if this goes even the 20 25 minutes, that this game probably goes more in Maelstrom's favor than not. Personally, what do you think?
I kind of agree. It's really just a ticking time bomb for whether late Zero Maelstrom or either get their gold ahead, or whether Summit Esports Wawa's weird draft actually manages to work out in team fights and get the picks that they need. But with that being said, just a reminder for everyone that got posted about an hour or two ago. Summit Esports League and Aegis Esports are doing a collaboration for a 1v1 tournament. A link is pinned in the Twitch chat. It is also available in the Summit Esports server. They are doing a $100 1v1 tournament that is free to enter. Uh, just for everyone is aware, it's going to be taking place on February 21st at 6 p.m. MST, 8 p.m. EST, or for you weirdos who live in ADT, 9 p.m. So if you guys are able to check that out, feel free to sign up. Once again, it is free. You have the potential to earn money. Really, like, where's the downside in that?
I mean, listen, the amount of time to fill out a form, that's difficult. That's a tall order.
Listen, if you can sign a form, then you can play some League of Legends. All right, it's not that hard.
Interesting, interesting. I'll have to think about it. Well, tell you what, I'll give that plenty of thought, and I'll probably get myself set up for that as we are between games. So, folks, give us a minute to get ourselves set up, and we will be right back with the third and final game of the series between Summit Wawas and Zero Maelstrom. right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to our third and final match in this series between Summit Esports Wawas and Lane Zero Maelstrom. Clearly, drastically different game plans from both sides and very, very different drafts. Even if maybe, even if I think that they're interesting because they're enjoyable and different, someone else thinks that the first three letters make a very big difference in that phrasing. Right now, we're gonna see exactly this place. It's gonna be a small invade. Soraka standing alone and kind of getting a little bit lost in the wheel. Gonna have to burn the flash to not go down
I'm
as
having an
she just walks
aneurysm.
away in the emotes. Oh no! Oh no! It's a rough start. That's a rough way to start it off.
Guys, please, please, if you would like to consult the graph, it's so Jover, bro.
but don't forget, it's only Jover until it's back. Okay, so we're only Jover right now, and then we're gonna be back. All right, it's gonna be great. All right, everyone's gonna be
I
fine.
mean, there's only
But
so much they can do. Morn's gonna get caught here.
oh no, wait, no, they try to go for the Raptor steal, but they don't even think about the fact that everyone else is waiting. Now, Lilia does have Flash, so none of this is actually kind of just stalls out Nocturne pretty heavily, and Lilia can at least heal a little bit off the passive. So maybe that's not the worst thing in the world, but still definitely not the way you want this to start off. As May goes for a little trade off of that fully stacked Q and a couple autos on the brand. Bot side, meanwhile, going to get a little bit... Oh, man, that's a rough... I mean, Brand is going to be a little bit rough right now just for the idea of how much damage he can deal off of the one Pillar of Flame. So we'll see how exactly May handles that, but... Oh, man, and he just keeps eating those pillars little by little, so this is going to be a little bit of a rough start, but Lilia still able to actually do her buff just fine, just kind of kite it out slowly but surely. Rocket jump from Tristana off the early level 2 as well means that this bottom lane definitely taking a little bit of an advantage lead. I will be looking more towards his top side, though, I think, and what Shen can do against GP. Opting for the Ignite over the TP means he's really trying to take advantage of some early pressure.
You know, one thing I didn't notice about Sprinkler Shen, he brought Halo Blades, so
Oh, that's the
he
next
might be
stuff.
going the legendary Kraken Slayer attack in order to actually combat with the DP, but DP is still a really strong individual champion, and I feel like his kit kind of counters whatever Shen wants to do. I could be very wrong about that, but we'll see how it goes.
I mean, I wouldn't say you're wrong about that, but I would say this is not a Shen that we're gonna see going for a tank build and being a team player. This is a Shen that wants to run down his opponents about as fast as possible. So this is gonna be a very different style of Shen, I think, out of Sprinkler, and I think that right now this is going to be a case where we're not going to see its pressure really build until we're in more of that maybe mid game area. So I'm excited to see it play out because it does scream interest me as somebody that hates going against GP as Shen. But I think that we're going to be seeing a mid game that is really about snowballing and pressure and less so about map positioning.
And one thing I will point out that the camera didn't show is Lane Zero Maelstrom just completely took over some of Esports Wawa's bot jungle. Like, Lilia's down on CS now.
Yep, yeah, definitely using that early skirmish and getting Lilia down as much as they did, knowing that they can kind of have a little bit more free reign in the jungle with how little and how slow her clear is going to be. Nocturne getting that bottom clear is huge, as his entire bottom side is just readily available to be taken, as Lilia looks like trying to figure out exactly where to go. Actually trying to see a little bit of the top side, so maybe this kind of turns out a little bit less net negative, but definitely going to take a while for Lilia to catch back up, and especially losing that red buff when she's already down is going to be pretty huge.
Yeah, also, that was a pretty good trade from White. Maybe the bot lane is playable. There's not going to be a lot of options for Tristana when she goes in because a simple Hui EQ can actually stop her from doing anything in the middle of her jump. So, depending on how they play it out, we might see
Topside coming through. Shen does have flash and taunt, but they're going to try to wait it out. Just a slow on GP, not going to get for much else. Going to go for the taunt, but knows that he has the orange, so can't quite do much pass. And Shen definitely not going to have to take more than 2 tower shots. But given the lane state, GP's actually in a bit of a rough spot, only because there is a 15 CS differential, and he is now out of experience range for at least these couple minions. Actually, no, never mind. He's not going to lose any, because by the time the wave crashes.
I mean, Sprinkler is still pretty strong to the point where GP can't just freely walk up like that. they don't know it, Sprinkler may have to worry about a Nocturne roaming up to potentially break the crush, but I mean, GP has his ways of farming on the tower, and we do see some lane 0 Maelstrom invading the bot jungle once again. They're looking to secure these Raptors and preventing Morn from actually being able to, be in tune with the rest of his team, because he's basically playing for his level 6 for the rest of his team, and if he's not able to get it, it's going to be super hard for Irelia to play.
Immortal actually going for the ultimate play, gonna manage to land over the hole, and gonna get the stun off, forcing the flash out of Rel. Definitely taking that aggression in from the Nocturne. I mentioned at least counter it a little bit, but I believe that the Raptors still went into Nocturne's hands.
Yeah, a little unfortunate, but at least we're able to make
hold
the
on, May.
game.
Going for it a little bit too far. You're gonna have to burn his own flash to make up for the for the Soraka and for the brand damage. Gonna try to do what he can, but honestly, a little bit too forward aggressive after what was starting to look like a good play.
Oh, they might be looking.
Oh no, Rella's still here. Gonna have to burn with the can. Gonna try to go for the knock-in. Is gonna get it. Nocturne gonna land the Q, but not much further. Brand not able to do much else. That's gonna be the Shen taunt coming in off of that Stand United. First blood going into the hands of the Aurelia. The Brand can dissuade too much further going forward, but at the end of the day, it is first blood. And it does go into the hands of Mei, who we've already seen for the past 2 games is a monster when given some early gold.
Guys, we may be seeing that we're back, but it's still really rough out here. Like, Nocturne has so many advantages compared to Lily right now. Like, he's just starting his first clear on his bot side. Like, Lily has really only been able to play towards top side. It's not even like a true vertical either, because she's just been like completely behind. They do secure these grubs over, so that does give them the chance to get feats of monster slaying, but there's only so much they can do while they're behind. Irelia does have a CS lead. She did get the first blood. That's extremely advantageous for some Esports Wawas, but like, look at the setup they were able to show up for, like, between the Rally and the Brand just roaming together towards their bot jungle. There's only... If this doesn't get contained somehow, Mort is going to be missing out on a lot of XP and gold, and that may be the difference maker as these next mid-game fights are happening.
Yeah, and especially considering the fact that when you really think about it, you're comparing a Nocturne ult of all things, which you really want to kind of force yourself to get that level 6, get that experience lead about as fast as possible. That's what's really at risk here, is the idea that the sooner that Paranoia comes online, and which it is right now, actually just hitting level 6 right now, there's so much pressure at that build that you kind of lose yourself in being able to gather on the map when you know that if you push too far forward without vision, Nocturne's going to be right there. And even right then, on spawn immediately there for the Raptors as well. This is, I agree with you, going to be a pretty rough call to know that now Nocturne slowly taking that experience lead, able to kind of just draft more pressure than this Lilia, especially considering that at least in this mid game, like you said, Nocturne is the name of the game. You're waiting for the proper time to use that ultimate to your advantage. And Lily's going to have to be on the same side of the map, and if she's not there preemptively, you're going to be in a rough spot.
Now, she does manage to take Nocturne's top side, so they're looking to be a much more straightforward vertical, but I feel like Nocturne wants to be on the bot's half of the map, because Nocturne's able to impact on the Hui, Soraka, or Irelia, and those are kind of the main damage threats for some Esports Wawas. While Lilia's stuck either fighting for his Halo Blade's Shen, who is currently getting beat up right now, or the Irelia, who's been eating like every flame pillar I've seen so far.
Yeah, every single time Aurelia's eating that flame pill, and I'm just kind of watching and sort of thinking like, oh no, it's happening again. May definitely taking a lot more damage than he needs to, but at the same time, the Aurelia does definitely have the ability to burst down Brand. I think he knows that, which is why pretty much if it's not at pillar range or maybe some pyroclasm free damage, he's really not walking up on the other side of Griffin, so it definitely makes sense. The bigger question is going to be exactly what happens on the other side of the map, like at this point, because Hui is a little bit up on CS on Tristan. I wouldn't say anything drastically ahead, but this has been a pretty free farming bottom lane without a lot of pressure. Rel maybe making a couple roams and Soraka, but the bottom laners themselves not really making any plays at each other. Ultimately, I think it does benefit the Tristana a little bit more. I think that Hui is going to have plenty of damage regardless of the state of the game, but Tristana being able to kind of get that explosive satchel charge down, get that draw bead, extra range slowly over time, is really going to benefit from this free farming lane early, and I think that is something they should be looking at, especially considering that Lilia doesn't really have control of their own bottom side, but they could definitely be making some plays into bottom lane at the very least, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, grubs aren't spawning for a little bit. They're looking to secure this next dragon that's spawning in. what is that, 2 minutes up there? I'm not sure if that's the correct timer. But we do see
2.5.
Lilia hovering towards the top side. I don't know if GP spotted her right there. Okay, I see a lot of pings coming out, so they definitely did spot her. Irelia is forced to walk in the top river bush.
Okay,
And
Ignite
Sprinkler's
popped.
getting chunked.
Yeah, Ignite is popped, but I mean, you can't. Yeah, that's still a Sheen GP, even with that little bit of damage. It's really rough to be matching GP right now. So, kind of surprised he went for the Ignite. I don't know if that was more of a dissuade opportunity or more just thinking he had to kill him and landed that second taunt. Either way, a lot of pressure down, I would dare say, on the top side. And now Arthur knows that Chen has to back off that play and knows he doesn't have to teleport. So he's just kind of probably playing it safe, dropping a few barrels. If he lands another crit barrel with a Sheepfrog, there's no way Shen can kind of keep up this pressure. I think he knows he has to back.
Yeah, well, luckily that's why Shen has been shoving a lot of these waves in, just to make sure that he's able to get a good reset. Because he knows this GP probably doesn't have the attention span to hold all the minions there, and he just wants to get as much of those Serpent coins as possible so that he can get the evolved ultimate. And we have lane 0 Maelstrom walking up to these grubs. They should be able to get this pretty free, while Lilia may try to recuperate the bottom quadrant of her jungle and hopefully reset the oh my god, I can't even think right now. The
Hold on a second.
vertical
MMA in a bit
jungle
of a rough
assignment.
spot.
There we go.
Can I
I
actually
finally got it
burn?
out.
Yeah, Lane Zero Maelstrom definitely trying to find a little bit of pressure where they can. Almost getting May, but it looks like Boy Wife was there with their abilities to turn things away. Right now, the question is though that with those grubs gone, it's a 3 for 3, and there's a Drake on the side of Lane Zero Maelstrom. So one more neutral objective if it's that Dragon in 45 minutes, and they will take that feat of Monster Slaying. Kills seem to be still very even, only a 1-0. So technically, that's still anyone's game. There's a lot to say here. I wonder if that feats of strength go one way or the other. Wei finally started to do some damage. I can clearly see actually burns the ultimate and misses, goes wide. That is a rough thing to miss. That would have been an instant kill on the Tristana that if he had landed.
Yeah, and especially with how the way this Nocturne's pathing right now, this could be a good opportunity for lane 0 Maelstrom to look on something their bot lane. Now, granted, the Tristana is chunked. It's going to be a lot more dangerous to try and attempt to engage, but thanks to the paranoia cutting off all the lights, it should be not as bad for Tristana to free hit within the limited vision that Summit Esports Wawas would receive. But there's continuing all this poke. Irelia is clearing the ward, and Mort is actually looking into the jungle. He gets the smite.
Wow. Okay. All right. A little bit of revenge for the early steals goes their way. As actually Lilia taking a little bit technically of a CS lead. I don't know how much of that is lane minions versus monsters, but either way, technically Lilia taking a bit of a lead back in comparison to the Nocturne. Definitely wouldn't say that they fully recovered from the difference. Obviously, Nocturne having that Tiamat, having that Phage means that they'll have that Shrine Breaker in no time. But at the very least, showing some fight and showing the means that they're not just going to kind of lay down and let their jungle constantly be taken up. Drake is spawned, and it looks like Nocturne is actually backing away from the area. So they decide to go for this. It will be an even 2 for 2 on monsters, which means that next Rift Herald or next Dragon will be the decider for that area of feats.
Yeah, Tristana did have to back up for a bit to reset her stuff, so it's not really a good fight for lane 0 Maelstrom to actually take. And one thing to notice is that Lilia caught up in gold, or CS. I'm quite surprised by that, but she's not out of the game now. She's actually a little bit ahead over the Nocturne. So, you know, if I were Summon admins, I may be looking much more antsy to play a fight, considering that our bot lane looks a little stronger, our mid lane is definitely stronger, and now our Lilia is stronger. Like, I feel like they have a lot of good opportunities here.
Yeah, bottom half of the map definitely playing out much better for Summit Esports Wawas this time around. And not for nothing, but ultimately, even the top side, I would argue that Shen's ult, if you go for it from a preemptive play, you really want to be in this game more proactive than reactive, given the idea of what that Nocturne fight. Now, unfortunately, that same Shen is put into a bit of a rough spot. Now, to taunt away, looks like GP's trying to get what they can of barrel damage and get a lot down. A little bit of return damage, but yeah, this is the problem. This is the problem, is that eventually this is where this lane starts to come to, and without teleports where they match the lane, GB's going to get a lot of pressure on this. This could even potentially be actually a
Uh-oh.
first turret pickup for
Uh-oh.
GP with that jamming. Hold on, here he's gonna go. Look at that triple stun, beautiful. Ultimate comes through. Nocturne still not quite finding a target. Not quite going in. Hold on, Lily gets one sleep down. May in a rough spot. Taunt goes down to Griffin.
Holy.
That's another kill. All it takes is one more, and Stallion is looking low and right. He tries to go on one way. Lily gets the pickup. That's the feat of warfare going into the hands of Summit Esports Wawas. They now take 2 kills. That's gonna be a flash taunt from the GP. Sorry, from the Shen onto GP, but he has his own orange to get himself out of there alive. Actually, even Hui going for the ultimate on Tristana, not going to be enough to have enough damage to make it out, but they'll also get the turret for themselves just as quick. This game immediately goes into the hands of Summit Esports as they pick up the feats of strength.
Donna was forced to flash right there at the end of the play, so flash or flash on top of their bot lane, and somehow Esports Wawas get on top. Like, that entire fight, they thought they caught the Aurelia, but turns out Mei
Oh
is a
no,
complete
Sprinkler.
god.
I'm not sure if that's the way you want to be going right now. You're still plenty low, and you are just a Shen. That ultimate is still available if GP decides. Oh no, sorry, ultimate is not available from GP. I pardon my language. So able to make his way out of there and not go down, not even gonna risk being anywhere near GP right now. But
That
as
Ruby
the
gets
graph does show,
way
we
too
are in
much
fact
work.
quote so back.
But yeah, Mei played that fight absolutely well. Now they basically lined up for her E to get triple stun, and then followed by the God, I'm not even gonna remember what her ulti name is, but she got a really good ultimate out, and Morn and Sprinkler were able to follow up super well. They get the pick on top of the brand, and Nocturne takes the unfortunate pathing of the blast cone, and Morn. Vanguard's Edge is the ultimate name. There we go. Uh, just remember the Placidium. That's what she screams every so often, right? Uh, but yeah, that fight secured the feat of warfare, like you said, and it was just really good for them. And we see a lane swap happening as they try to go for Rift Herald for some esport at Wawas.
Yeah, it seems like right now, some of these sports Wawas are going to go ahead and pick up the Rift Tower for themselves as well. This is going to be an early tempo game. I think this is what we talked about, is that the early game, even the mid game, I would definitely say is in some of Wawas' favor. This is what they were hoping for. We're going to have to see if they can keep up this pressure and this momentum at 2.5k up, because if they end up giving up any of this pressure, they're going to start really finding a problem in the mid to late game portion. But right now, Hui's been even on gold as a CS lead on the Tristana, or Aurelia's up. Lilia's up, like you've been saying. I think that this is definitely a game where, as long as GP doesn't get out of control very suddenly, that Summit can definitely ride this wave of momentum, but they have to be making the right map movements. They have to make sure they're up on these dragons and neutral objectives, especially this Otacon on the top side.
Yeah, one thing to note though is that even though the mid game may look a little shaky from lane 0 Maelstrom, we saw the gank earlier from top lane. That GP is really strong. Like, you did not seem phased that Morn was coming into the lane so many times. And not only that, he was just beating down the Shen super well. Like, he has an 800 gold lead, could be closer to 900 with the way that it's going right now. Like, it may seem pretty bad from the rest of the team considering that most of their lanes are Summit Esports Wawa's favored, but this GP can become very scary very fast once he's able to start joining these fights.
No, absolutely. All GP wants to do is solo lane until he's level 13, and then he doesn't care what he does. And right now, being at level 12, probably another wave or two gets him there. When he does, the speed of those barrels is really going to matter. Mei already actually on him immediately, pops the ultimate, has to force the flash out, as Arthur knows that if he stays a bit too subtle there, he is not going to like how quickly Aurelia bursts him down. Meanwhile, this Drake already getting bursted down with that brain damage. Beautifully, going to trade that likely for the mid lane outer turret, as it looks like Warren is looking to get the turret, not going to go for the second charge, doesn't want to risk getting picked up by the Rel with the Nocturne combo. So going to slowly work his way through. But never mind, the second charge actually still goes through despite the lack of escort.
Yeah, they knew that they weren't in the right position to even go for that Drake, especially since Mei as their main carry is up top lane. So with the Rift Herald grab that they got earlier, Shen is ulting. This might be the first death onto
Then goes
GP.
through. Arthur finally gets rushed down with the two other members there to assist. 4 kills to 0, as finally the GP gets taken down, is not able to just free farm the top side.
What can I say? Sprinkler's an Ignite abuser. But no, the Rift Herald play was fine. Like, if we can't get the dragon, we're just going to open up your base, and that's the exact play that they wanted to go for there, and it worked out in their favor. They chunked out the inner turret for more than half its HP,
How many people are
and
gonna
they
walk
were
over
able to...
that road? Oh my god. Sorry.
Yeah, but they crashed the Herald and were able to set up that play on the top side against a flashless GP thanks to the play from Irelia. So they're in a really good position for this Otacon if they ever so choose. Uh, Sprinkler does not have his ultimate up for this. The Stand United is currently more than halfway on his cooldown. So depending on how Lane 0 Maelstrom want to play this, they could be able to force a 5v4 topside for this Otacon. I'm not sure you really want to when Irelia is on that side.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Aurelia is a big enough to turn, at least right now, that even if you do have TP with the changes, it's not going to come in nearly as quickly. Now, Aurelia, in the meanwhile, is actually getting a lot of pressure down, immediately clearing those waves, and maybe this is what... Nope, I thought maybe they're going to turn around and try to go for it, but instead they're just trying to
Oh,
look for the pick. If they know if they can get Mei, then the Otacon is as good as theirs.
the 4-man dive could have had the top side, but it's also like, do you really want to dive the Irelia? But no, they're doing a lot of good. There's Lane 0 Maelstrom are trying to prep for this Otacon, or at least make sure that they negate as much pressure that some of Esports Wawas had for it. Unfortunately, they weren't able to clear much of the wards there just because Scanners was on cooldown, but they at least have some information to properly respond to it. Shen is recalling. I think he might have the Unending Despair ready by this time.
I think he does.
Yeah, there it is. So every single person on Summit Esports Wawas has 2 items outside of support because support is a meal ticket role. But they should be looking for fights really. Like, granted, a Brand, even if he only has Leandri's, still a really strong champion in team fights. But like, we have Sprinkler on Shen, he's ready to spam the Stand Unite on whoever gets like bursted by the Brand, but Irelia is also there, super huge team fighting, and just Hui. Like, Hui's a god at team fighting too, so... I don't know, it's like whoever sets up first should prevent the other team from walking in, and it looks like some Esports Wawas are currently the ones in contention for setup.
Yeah, I think right now Wawas have definitely found themselves in the driver's seat of this game by a long shot with that 4K gold lead that they have for themselves. Either way, Otacon is available, and we know what happened in the first game when they tried to go for Otacon, so maybe they just have a little bit of PTSD, maybe that's why they're not immediately going for it. But Shen does have the ultimate back available, we know he's matching GP, and ultimately, like I keep saying, as long as they use it proactively and not reactively, this Shen can be an absolute tool to get these fights out. They've already been doing so far. Looks like they're trying to look for a play here right now. Shen knows it's available, hasn't quite started it yet, knows that he's waiting, biding their time. Krugs get taken down, tower gets pressured, and it looks like Shen is just looking for his way out. GP trying to see what he can do to maybe deal some return damage, stop Shen from getting just a free way out. Gonna eat the taunt and walk out, not gonna try to immediately cleanse it with Yuan.
Yeah, by keeping Sprinkler occupied with the GP, it prevents any snowbally fights from happening topside. Now, granted, it doesn't
Okay,
stop
hold on. Mei. Gonna go for it. Gets a lot of damage on Griffin, living on a pixel of health. Not quite able to finish him off. Nocturne ult gonna go down. Shen unable to ult for a little while longer. Lily gonna try to flash away and live. Barely gonna make it out. There we go. Now here comes the Stand United. That's what you want to see. Going for the Nocturne. Immediately gonna flash away and not get eaten up by the taunt. There's going to be a full 5th member, but now that means that Nocturne is low on health and Otacon stands in the river.
Yeah, I mean, really well set up from Mei. Like, as I was eating my words,
Oh,
like...
no, wait a minute. Speaking of being set up by Mei might set up themselves. You're going to have to burn the flash to get out of there, and the rest of them knows what's standing behind the river. They're trying to look what they can do about it. Hold on, Hui's going to pop the ult. Going to get a lot of damage down on the other side. Brand going for a little bit of return damage and trying to steal it with the can, but I don't think they want to go for this. GP does teleport in. 5K, 4K, they're waiting for it. Nocturne showing up and it's stunned up, but nope, not going to get their time. This time, they get the Otacon.
I was gonna get PTSD, bro. Thank God not.
I was so ready. Oh my word! But they get it. They get the Otacon. They put it in their hands, and now they have a little bit more pressure they can build. They know they can take some maybe riskier fights for a little while and just use the overall buff to their advantage. But it is still the same 4K gold lead it was earlier. You can definitely say that Lane 0 Maelstrom done a good job of not giving any more excess leads. GP has a 2.5 item, a little bit up in gold from Shen as you'd expect. The Nocturne definitely down to Lily, and the Brand definitely down to Reg. You can see based on the gold map, but the bot lane's still relatively even.
Shouldn't.
There's going to be Shen going for the taunt onto the Rel, going to pop over with the plant, and that extra distance off of the Chemtech Drake explosion is huge. But that same Chemtech Drake is now on the map to be picked up and going to be evening up this Drake count at 2-2.
Yeah, I mean, Summit at Esports Wawas has been taking this in stride. Like, they haven't given up a single kill for Lane 0 Maelstrom just yet. And the Swirly Seed, actually, it's Tristana. Here comes the Drowsy.
Okay, hold on. There's the Drowsy into the immediate shutdown. I was going to say, like, I'd commentate it, but I feel like it's just going to happen. We're just going to end up going down. Baron is now in the sights for for Summit Esports Wawas, but on the other side, they're waiting for it. Soraka trying to see what she can zone out. The answer is not too much. Aurelia going to try to go for the thunder, going to hit it, going to pop the ultimate, see what she can do. Shen goes for the taunt, gets it onto the Brand, gets a taunt down, and Griffin does get taken down. Baron does reset, but now there's another member down. It becomes a 3v5. Nocturne is still up and available. He can go for a Mirror Crystal. That's why Shen's going over the wall, seeing what he can take out as far as his vision. They're waiting for him in the bush. GP gonna go for a little bit of damage and not quite much else, knowing how much of a risk this is. Nocturne is over the wall and waiting. They're gonna try to knock up the Shen, gonna see what they can do. Way gonna pop a little something over the wall, try to stall things out. There's actually a back going through. Soraka decides to not stay in the pit any longer. Nocturne waiting for the steal potential. Doesn't have a way in with it. Oh, okay. Was getting a little worried because there was no smite available, but Morn does pick it up. That is a Baron onto the side of Summit Esports Wawa. As much as I hate to say it, I think we're back.
We're so back. Actually, I'm not going to say that. It's cooked. I mean, I don't think there was really a way for Rel to, or for Nocturne to actually get into there. I'm pretty sure she ran out of wards. So, the Nocturne Paranoia was kind of just there to make them panic. I could be wrong, though. But the Blast Gun wasn't there. He doesn't have Flash. I'm not really sure how he would have been able to even remotely contest that outside of just walking around. So, it was a good Baron play. Psy definitely made me feel a little anxious just because they backed at a time where their silence would have been extremely important. So, I mean, props to them. They got the ward reset and the Moonstone Renewer now. But yeah, some of these first Wawas, they're just looking really strong. They're looking to 1-3-1 right now.
1-3-1, that's what they can do while they have this pressure of the Baron buff on their side. Way definitely get a lot of pressure now. Having those two completed burn items with the third available means that being able to float on this Tristana gives a lot of burst damage onto this bottom side, where Aurelia has the burst damage on the top side, matching the GP. Looks like right now the Summit squad is reaching pretty much its critical mass, and I think that as long as they can at this point maybe take down another turret, possibly get down at least one inhibitor, they should be able to ride this wave of momentum into the end game. But I think that the only thing that I can think of that maybe they still have to look out for is going to be whether or not they can get a good pick off maybe a Nocturne and GP. I'm not manifesting, but we don't talk about it. It's going to come out that way. More maybe Bray walking forward. Walking forward. Maybe the other way, maybe it's just a giant elaborate bait. As now they get the ultimate going down. Nocturne goes down as well. They're trying to stop Shen from getting into the fight as soon as he can. But never mind, the ultimate's already popped. That's going to be a flea on the Nocturne as he walks a bit too far forward. Gets a beautiful taunt off. Griffin going to get all his damage onto the Shen, but it might not matter much when the rest of the team is falling. 2 down from the side of Lane 0 Maelstrom. That's an inhibitor turret down, likely an inhibitor to follow. I think that this is all that they're going to spoke to. I don't think they're going to go further than this with some numbers a little low, but that is the first inhibitor down as the base is officially broken. They actually go to the top side and see if they can get that as well to get some Baron buffed up minions. That turret gets evaporated as the inhibitor likely to be doing the same. Immediately, Lane 0 Maelstrom into a desperate position in their own base.
Oh my god, dude. I don't think I can say that on there. They're doing a lot of freaking work right now, and you know, their positioning's been great outside of like a few very obvious instances. But some of esports admins has been playing these fights phenomenally with their leads and making sure that lane's zone or lane 0 Maelstrom just have zero, like they have zero breathing room. Like, how are they able to play these fights? Nocturne was just sitting there on the side. He decided to ult at the very end and just had to walk out because there's not a lot he can do there. So this very like early game, I want to press the go button first comp that they wanted to play for, again, just isn't working.
Yeah, they're really trying to see what they can do if they're able to kind of get a singular pick down, but now they're in a rough spot. Griffin gets taunted up. Lilia's even there to follow up some support damage. There's going to be the Hue pillar from the long end, and Azura actually going to be able to kill himself off of those two burns. This is starting to become very, very dire for Lane Zero Maelstrom. I think that they are trying their best to push out lanes and avoid anything further, but they're going to have supers in their base sooner rather than later. And at this point, it looks like Summit Wawas are very well aware they are still in the driver's seat. They don't want to let their foot off the gas as they are going to aim for this last lane with towers standing before knocking down the base.
Yeah, and once these towers are broken, like, there's not a lot of room for Lane Zero Maelstrom to actually walk up and farm. So they're going to be able to take this tower down. There's no Baron left, but like, there's not really a way for them to walk back up. And oh, the Sleepy does go off, I
Hold
think.
on. I think it might have gotten cleansed, possibly. I think that might have been what happened.
I
By
don't think it
GP.
got cleansed. I think it just got back into their base, but
Possibly.
they're just looking
But
for these fights now.
yeah, they just gotta see what else they can get. Taunt does go wide. Nocturnal is gonna go through, gonna go immediately to the backside. I'm not sure if that's where you want to go. GP ult as well. That's gonna be a flash. Arel trying to see what you can get through. So Raka ult immediately gonna heal up most of that brand damage, but it looks like Azura barely gonna live. Maybe gonna kill the GP and the Tristana of the Rel going down as well to Lily and Hue. A pillar goes through. Brand takes a lot of damage. Griffin just a little bit of HP willing, and it looks like they're even gonna care about what Brand does as it looks like the base is being taken down. 2 inhibitor turrets down, and just like that, we are, in fact, back, ladies and gentlemen, as Summit Esports Wawa take the 2-1 over Lane Zero Maelstrom.
Wait, who died at the end? Why did we ruin the flawless? Oh my god. Hey, do we got the Mouse on the team? What's going on over there? But no, this is an extremely dominating performance for some esports admins. Why do I keep saying admins? Oh my god. Some esports Wawa. Kick me off the cast, please. But okay, production is being really mean to me, but that's not a surprise. But no, some esports Wawa has just had a really dominating performance after what seems like an extremely difficult match game two. So well played to them. I am a huge doubter, but I was been proven wrong. May is a god tier mid laner. Like the amount of times that I thought he was gonna get caught out and die, he just turned it around into our team's favor.
Wow. Really, really, at the end of the day, I listen. I was very skeptical of this composition. I was skeptical what they were going to be able to do, and I really thought Maelstrom drafted a team that was going to work out well. But I guess drafting a team for the mid late game doesn't go well if your early game starts to have a few cracks in it. And clearly, if there's one thing Summit Esports Wall was doing a really good job of this, I think it's finding their advantage, finding those weaknesses, and never giving up the tempo, never giving up the advantage once they were able to press it. And clearly, well done by them taking the victory in the 2-1. Like I said, whatever team wins in the 2-1, the other one was just a fluke, just a wash. Nothing happened. So clear, undecided, undefeated victors. I don't even know. It's going to be Summit Esports Wawa. With that, I believe that we are going to be good here on the cast. Gar, any final thoughts before we close things out?
This is why I'm not a betting man, because I seem to be wrong every time.
Well, there you go, folks. There you have it. Don't bet, stay in school, and don't do drugs. With that in mind, folks, I have been Andrew with my buddy Gar. We appreciate you all sticking around and enjoying the night of League of Legends actions with us. We hope you all stick around and enjoy what else Summer Esports has to offer here in the Titan Immortal League. Take care.
Well, bye.